What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 10 Iya, Chapter 228226. This style of play is not two-dimensional at all. Advertisement. Enel came behind Lucas and stretched out his hands, and a thunder snake shining with electric sparks was released in his hand. 20 million volts discharge. Before the thunderbolt was released, Lucas had already reacted behind Enel, covering his feet with armed colors, and kicked him up. Enel dissipated the thunder and lightning, his body turned into a blue light and disappeared, appearing in the distance. Human speed can never be compared with the natural speed of lightning and light. But Lucas's reaction was much faster than Enel. If the two are only playing a racing game, then it is really difficult to compare the outcome. Enel was no longer about to run down, standing in the distance, with a weapon in his hand and beating the taiko drum on his back. A lot of thunder and lightning came out of the taiko drum, which was the thunder and lightning he had stored for a long time. A thunderbird shining with blue light gradually took shape, its stretched wings made the sound of thunder and lightning, and flew straight towards Lucas. Although in the original plot, the people that Enel's thunder and lightning had hit several times survived, the volts of Enel's thunder and lightning did sound a bit watery. But Lucas also had no plans to directly take the opposing thunderbolt. Quickly slashing out several huge waves of chopping at Enel, Lucas flashed, rushing to Enel's back in a speed-increasing mode and punching him. Enel turned into a thunder light and avoided. A series of huge chopping waves crossed across Enel's thunderbirds. The chopping waves chopped down one by one big trees, and the thunderbirds directly smashed the trees. Ganfor stood in the distance, looking at the destroyed trees on this land, a little bit distressed. Enel and Lucas appeared in the distance, looking at each other, they faced off again. The weapon in Enel's hand quickly shook the taiko drum on the right, and a thunder beast took shape in an instant and pounced against Lucas. Lucas dodged himself, and then slashed several waves at Enel. Thunder beasts and chopping waves once again destroyed a large area of trees. Ganfor looked at the two men and fell into deep thought. It seems that the woods on this island today are not preserved. God's sanctions. Enel looked at Lucas with a sneer, and a huge lightning bolt fell directly from the sky. Lucas avoided. Quote. Enel. The lightning pillar crashed down, directly bombarding the land of the island, directly blasting a hole through the entire island where Lucas originally stood. Advertisement. Click it. A gravel fell from the edge of the deep hole, and the deep hole was deep and bottomless. Okay. So scary. It's so hard that there really is a god in this world. The pirates looked at Enel in shock, manipulating thunder and lightning, with extremely fast speed. The pirates looked at their companions one after another, their eyes full of despair. When it was over, where would they go wrong? They had to come to look for the gold in the Golden Country. Enel is so strong and boundless, the pirates don't think they can beat a strong like Enel. And Lucas. Don't be kidding, this is a Logia ability, and it's also a lightning ability. The pirates are ready to die. But if Lucas kills Enel, forget it, then they can't live either. Lucas can survive, and he may not let them go. Didn't see that the old man beside him cheered for Lucas. Even if Lucas and Enel were both injured, this stronger Ganfor would not allow them to take the opportunity to kill Lucas who saved Sky Island. 60 million volts Thunder Dragon. Enel struck the taiko drums on both shoulders, showing the thunder and lightning he created from the taiko drums, forming a huge Thunder Dragon. The long body of Thunder Dragon gleamed with dazzling light and rushed towards Lucas. Lucas cut out with a chopping wave. Enel sneered, this is his thunder and lightning, how could the chopping wave have an effect on him? Chopper wave and Thunder Dragon crossed, Enel and Lucas disappeared at the same time. A thunder dragon and a chopping wave once again blasted and chopped down large trees. It seems that these two people are not fighting, but destroying the environment. Ganfor angrily waited to punish these two people. N14W Bailey. Enel looked at nothing in the distance, was shocked, sensed Lucas behind him, and quickly turned around to release lightning. Lucas disappeared instantly and reappeared behind Enel. Enel's speed is indeed fast, but Lucas's reaction is faster. Lucas is a little different from Enel and Kizaru. His speed is a gradual increase, and his body is special, so he can do reaction training slowly. Advertisement. Enel is thunder fruit, and it is very fast. Although it is far from reaching the real lightning speed, physical condition, reaction restraint, the speed itself is too fast, and there is no hope of training reaction speed. The same is true for Kizaru, so it is impossible for them to really play the real speed of thunder and lightning. If you can really play it out, then don't mix up, these two people are enough to hang the whole world. With the sword drawn, the blade is covered with the armed color, combined with the release of the armed color, a special chopping wave is directly cut out. The next moment Lucas disappeared and appeared in the distance. Enel only reacted before the slash hit him, and quickly dodged. Lucas instantly sensed Enel's figure, came directly behind the opponent, and once again cut out a special chopping wave. Enel's body is elementalized, avoiding the slash. Enel sneered and stretched out his hands towards the long knife in Lucas's S hand. Armed colors can indeed hit the enemy, and can also block some of the fruit's ability to attack. Lucas's S armed color is stronger and can isolate the opponent's ability. After all, Enel doesn't even have an armed color, only a heart net. The heart net is what Sky Island people call for seeing, hearing, and S*X. It's just that Enel's heart network is stronger. Your response is really good, but you are not as good as me in that aspect. Enel laughed twice, and put his hands away unwillingly. Lucas's heart sank, and indeed, he took advantage of the quicker reaction. Although his armed color is very strong, he has learned even internal destruction now. But Enel is really strong in this aspect. With the ability of thunder and lightning, it is really difficult to fight, and many of his tricks can't hit the opponent. Want to beat the opponent, or break through the experience here, or have other opportunities. Otherwise, the two of them can really defeat each other in this way until they are exhausted. A thunderbird took shape and swooped towards Lucas. A slashing wave slashed towards Enel fiercely. The two disappeared at the same time and appeared in the air. The weapon in Enel's hand collided with Lucas's S-armed long knife, and then the two disappeared again and appeared in the distance. Enel's palm was aimed at Lucas, and a lightning bolt rushed towards Lucas. Lucas reached out and directly Yongfei threw a large pile of iron pieces into the distance. Quote. Enel has a look of, wow FK, you are so shameless. Chapter 229,227. Real men have to fight a bunch. Advertisement. A handful of iron pieces flew away directly, and the lightning pillar also followed the deviation, and landed on the ground with a bang, blasting the ground out of a long passage leading directly to the bottom of the island. Enel turned his head and glared at a pirate. Lucas just appeared beside that guy, and then Lucas got a handful of iron pieces. He was about to strike a thunder and lightning at the pirates, electrocute these bastards, and then he could continue to deal with Lucas comfortably. As a result, Lucas was already approaching at this time, and he was beaten. Enel quickly avoided and continued to confront Lucas. Before Lucas came to Sky Island, he had prepared a large amount of iron pieces for the pirates to carry with him. Of course, he didn't want to use the pirate as his lightning rod. I just hope to take one occasionally, and then throw one out when Enel mines him. This is a bit similar to a decoy bomb. Enel glared at Lucas angrily, and directly and continuously hitting the taiko drum behind his back, thunder beasts rushed out and rushed towards Lucas. Let you hide. Let you decoy bombs. Whoosh whoosh. The pirates behind Lucas threw a large amount of iron pieces directly in all directions, and the thunder beasts directly turned around and ran away with the iron pieces. Enel was so angry that he wanted to curse. The play style of these bastards is not two-dimensional at all. The pirates are also very helpless. Lucas somehow agreed to leave Sky Island and let them go, but this guy Enel gave a god, one by one, and immortal. They felt that if Lucas was defeated, then Enel would definitely crush their group of mortals, like ants. Lucas stood opposite Enel, shrugging his shoulders. There is no way. Metal conducts electricity. This is common sense. What? Why can armed color be able to defend? Set it up. Otherwise, people like Enel Kazaru are invincible in the world. Don't call it One Piece, then call the world unparalleled or dominate the world. Enel dong 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 constantly beating the taiko drum behind him, and thunderbirds hovered in the air, ready to pounce at any time. Call out. A thunderbird rushed at the pirates. Advertisement. Ganfer saw the thunderbird rushing, grabbed a handful of iron pieces in the hands of the pirate, and threw it directly out. When the thunderbird hit halfway, its body suddenly turned strangely, and followed the iron piece into the sky, and then the iron piece crossed the parabola and fell down, and the thunderbird rushed toward and followed. Enel kept scolding these bastards in his heart. These guys are really forcing him to make big moves. Lucas stood on the opposite side of Enel, shrugged, embarrassed. This is called the iron casting technique, which is defensive. Enel moved directly, his body turned into a thunder light. He wanted to rush past as fast as he could, and then put on 100 million volts to electrocute this group of dogs. But Lucas reacted faster than him. He rushed out before Enel left, covering his entire body with armed color and the blade of his sword. He decided to use new abilities. The moment he learned the advanced use of armed color, he began to develop abilities for kendo. The armed color is released from the blade, so that the slash hits the enemy's body without direct damage, but the armed color destroys the inside of the enemy's body. The ability to do internal destruction by hand. But with one more knife in the middle, the difficulty is actually higher. Lucas developed it for a long time to practice this trick. There was a palpitation in Enel's heart, and his body instantly turned into thunder and lightning, bursting back into the distance. The chopping wave that Lucas had chopped out blasted out, directly hitting a big tree. Enel looked at the big tree with a serious expression. Boom. Suddenly, the whole tree exploded, from the inside out. Enel wiped the sweat from his face. Fortunately, this guy's speed and heart network are a bit inferior to him, otherwise it would be too dangerous. If the elementalization slows down a bit, he will be killed by such a terrifying move by the opponent. The pirates looked at the iron pieces in their hands ready to be thrown out at any time, and fell silent. Is Lucas so strong? Do they still need to help each other? Hey, Lucas said that if he didn't kill them, it should be counted, right? So powerful. Ganfer looked at Lucas in shock. What's going on in this era? Every new young man is stronger than his old man, and the strong ones are a little outrageous. Is this still the world he knows? Advertisement. One is like Thor, and the other is powerful. Although he didn't want to admit that he was inferior to them, Ganfer still cheered for Lucas silently at this time. After all, only if Lucas defeated Enel, Sky Island could be rescued. Ganfer had thought about it. As long as Enel was defeated, they would reconcile with the Shandia people, and then return the land to each other. Ganfor looked at the remaining 3 priests warily, guarding against these people's tricks. At the same time, a group of Sandia rushed to the island. They saw Enel and Lucas, and the war ghost Vipa, regardless of whether the opponent was friendly or not, directly picked up the weapon to attack, and even Lucas went in. But before his attack started, the two had disappeared. He quickly observed, and only then discovered that the two appeared to fight in the sky. Wahipa quickly raised his weapon and aimed at the two in the sky. Just after aiming, the two disappeared again. He really couldn't hit Enel. He was angry, and directly aimed the weapon at Ganfor in the distance. Both Enel and Ganfor are the invaders who invaded their homeland, and there is no problem with both of them attacking anyone. After all, the land where they lived was washed up on Sky Island, and the ancestors of these Sky Island people defeated their ancestors and drove them out of their homeland. The reason is, Sky Island people have never seen dirt, such an island is too precious to them. Nonsense. Wahipa spit on the ground. Although it was the ancestors of the Sky Island people who took away their homeland, there is a saying, forgive you for the ancestors, and I am responsible for sending you to hell. He is such a tough man, as in the original book. In the original book, he was fatally wounded n times in a row, was hit by Enel's tens of thousands of volts lightning, and endured the burden of using platoon shells many times. But even so, he still didn't die. He commanded the companions behind him, and everyone used weapons to aim at the priests, pirates, and Ganfor. Real men, we have to fight a bunch. Behind the Sandia warrior crowd, a woman squeezed out, and Lackey watched Lucas, who was fighting with Enel from time to time, stopped in front of the Sandia warrior. Don't attack yet, maybe the other party is here to help us. Lackey hurriedly stopped everyone. Chapter 230,228. 200 million volts Thor. Advertisement. Lucas and Enel fought against each other. They too had already sensed the arrival of the Sandia, but they didn't care about the threat of those people. One thing Enel is right is that the strength of this group of people is not worth mentioning in front of them. Both Enel and Lucas wanted to resolve the battle as soon as possible. Enel waved the stick in his hand and Lucas waved the long knife in his hand, and the two collided. Enel just came to Sky Island at this time and just occupied it. He has not discovered the gold in the Golden Country. It's not just that he didn't build his ark, and he couldn't perform some of the strongest tricks. The stick in his hand now is just an ordinary iron rod, not the golden stick that he built later. Watching Lucas sever his stick with a slash, Enel disappeared into a thunder light and appeared in the distance. The lightning flashes in his hand and the electric sparks continue. Under his thunder metallurgy ability, the iron rods are united again and become a good stick. With such a good ability, it's a pity not to go to work in steel mills or power plants. Quote. Although Enel didn't understand what the B************* D was saying, he felt that this guy's words had no good intentions. A flash of lightning flashed. Enel appeared in front of Lucas with one hand in front of him. 100 million volts discharge. A lot of thunder light appeared here. The flowers and grass on the ground were instantly burned by high temperature. Terrifying thunder and lightning raged here, and the dazzling thunder light covered their eyes. The Shandia was covering his eyes, and he was almost blinded at that moment. Lei Guang dissipated. Everyone released their hands and looked forward. Lucas had already escaped, and Enel chased him up again, hitting him with a stick, releasing a thunderbird by the way. Lucas slashed a wave at Enel, and then the two disappeared one after another. Thunderbird rushed into the sky, and the chopping wave passed through Enel's original position instantly, exploding the trees. From the inside out, the Sandia warriors stared at them dumbfounded. Is this the strength of the strong? But they always feel that their usual battles are not a style of painting with these people at all. The two appeared not far away in the next moment, one released thunder and lightning, and the other slashed a huge wave of chopping. In the next instant, the two disappeared again, and the thunder and lightning rang and directly smashed the trees. Advertisement. The huge chopping wave directly chopped down a large area of trees. The Sandia people looked at each other, rubbing their eyes and pinching their thighs. Did you come here from the Dragon Ball Theater? The sound of thunder mixed with the sound of a big tree falling into the ears of the Shandia people. They sat not far from Ganfor and watched the show honestly. It's not that they are not brave enough, they are actually facing off. The remaining three priests looked at Lucas, who suddenly appeared in shock. Is this man so strong? Didn't they fight each other before? The other party was playing with them. The three priests looked at each other and watched the play honestly. If Enel wins them, they will continue to be priests. If Enel loses, they will re-behave, confess their mistakes, and surrender on their knees. 200 million volts Thor. Enel released all the thunder and lightning, surrounded him, his body became larger and transformed into the posture of the huge Thor, glaring at Lucas with one hand. A terrifying thunder and lightning was released instantly, destroying all the obstructions on the road. Seeing these two people, the more they were destroyed, the pirates, priests, Sandia warriors, and Ganfor all stepped back, looking at Enel in shock. Enel was huge at this time, and his hair was erected with the fluctuation of lightning. If he dyed his hair, it would really smell like a Super Saiyan. So, didn't you really come to the Dragon Ball Theater next door? Lucas appeared behind Enel, and a huge chopping wave slashed out. Enel instantly rushed out, avoiding the chopping wave, and at the same time, his palm was aimed at Lucas again. It was another terrifying lightning strike, directly destroying everything along the way. Lucas hid in the distance and looked at the woods destroyed by Enel. His destruction, compared with Enel's current tricks, was really insignificant. Enel hadn't built the arc yet, and couldn't use the arc to use the strongest trick, and 200 million volt Thor was his strongest trick now. Enel's stamina dropped sharply and failed to hit Lucas. If he continues to use this trick, his stamina will not be able to withstand the exhaustion. Lucas and Enel stood in two directions, panting, looking at each other like a monster. This guy is too capable of hitting. As everyone knows, in the eyes of the people on the side of these two at this time, they are simply super monsters. A pirate shook a handful of iron in his hand and recalled Enel's horrible move just now. Advertisement. His mind was full of terrifying thunder and lightning, his hands trembled, and he didn't have much confidence to help. There are thunder and lightning in the several drums behind Enel, but the previous battles have all been exhausted. He stared at Lucas cautiously. He had to break the game like a way, otherwise he and Lucas would really fight and hurt both. It's not right. If you want to hide, either of them can hide. Fight at most until either of them loses energy first. Enel looked at the distance. Ganfor and Shandia warriors said something, and the other party promised him that after Enel was defeated, they would return the island to the Shandia people. Therefore, these Sandia fighters temporarily put aside their hatred for the Sky Islanders at this time, and chose to stand aside with Ganfor. The two disappeared in an instant. The next moment, the two appeared in the air, fought once, disappeared in an instant, and again tried to come behind each other to kill each other. As a result, the two rivals did not make each other's wish, and they both retreated. Enel does not intend to continue to use 200 million volt Thor, but only uses the weakened version of the ability. Covered with a layer of flashing lightning, Enel's figure grew slightly larger, and he rushed directly in front of Lucas, releasing a lightning bolt with one palm. Ganfor saw Lucas avoiding and yelled okay. Next, Lucas appeared on the back of Enel, chopped out with a slashing wave. Enel escaped, and Ganfor sighed unwillingly. Unfortunately, Enel was almost killed. A Sandia soldier sat in front of the crowd, looking at Lucas puzzledly. This guy is so strong, but why does he always feel like these two people are playing peek-a-boo? Hoo. After a while, Enel gasped and stared at Lucas. He was a little tired, and his physical exertion was severe. Constantly releasing thunders like terrifying natural disasters, his current physical exertion is very serious. But this Lucas, what is going on with him? Chapter 231,229. Give you a sea stone, Bangle. Advertisement. Before the other party gasped, he could understand. Tired. Why is the frequency of breathing now the same as before? Shouldn't you gasp? Enel trembled. He understood. Lucas rushed out, and Enel began to dodge and counterattack. In fact, since many years ago, Lucas has repeatedly realized the serious lack of physical strength. Therefore, over the years, he has paid great attention to a training. That is to keep exercising and keep getting more and more physical. His appetite is getting bigger and bigger. He was indeed pretending just now. In fact, his current physical strength can still hold on for a while. The time used for the ability and the amount of physical energy consumed have been constantly changing with his ability development and physical training. He had already made up for his serious lack of physical strength. After a while, Enel completely lost his energy and received a punch in the face. The man flung out and the stick fell to the ground. Boom. Enel's body hit a big tree. Lucas came to his left side in an instant, raised his leg and kicked his back. Enel was stomped on the ground. Lucas hit Enel's head with a punch, and his head buzzed. Enel is faster than Lucas and can still run. It's just that he couldn't give up his plan, and he didn't want to leave. After all, Lucas reacted faster than him, and it was just that the battle alone had the advantage. Lucas looked at Enel who was hit by him, and knew that this guy really had no energy. The hand took out a sea stone, Bangle, directly from the clothes and put it on Enel himself. Give you a pair of sea stone bracelets, do you want to return me a thunder fruit? Lucas looked at Enel and smiled. Quote. Enel glanced at the sea stone handcuffs on his wrist and snorted coldly. Lucas wiped the sweat from his forehead and finally caught the guy. He didn't want to send Enel to jail, and he didn't have that thought. Advertisement. He just wanted to try whether Enel would drop a precious thunder fruit. This, one. A pirate looked at Lucas, somewhat overwhelmed. He thought there would be another 300 rounds of battle. What is this? Ganfor looked at the pirate dubiously. Already well, this B**********D is still expecting the two to fight for a long time. So what the Shandia people received today is not an island that needs to save the environment, but a ragged, deserted island that has been beaten. The three priests noticed that Lucas was looking at them, quickly dropped his weapon and surrendered directly. Business is very skilled. Lucas looked at the three jokingly. Lucas grabbed Enel in one hand, and Enel glared at the three bastards angrily. He felt that Lucas didn't have much physical strength, but why couldn't these bastards die a few and help him deal with Lucas? Facing Enel's glare, the three priests showed no weakness and instantly changed their style of painting. One after another, they became righteous warriors, pointing to Enel's face and cursing at each other's actions, telling them what Enel had done to their hometown. The pirates listened to the priest's words, not knowing whether it was true or not. But looking at Enel's expression, they were shocked. This guy has really ruined a sky island. Although they are pirates stealing money, and although they bully the weak, Enel's evil deeds of destroying an island like this are simply anti-human. The pirates lamented that they were really too ignorant of the bad, and it turned out that a person can still be so bad. What are you going to do with him? Ganfor asked. Please give him to the Sky Island people, let. Before the three gods had finished speaking, Lucas slapped one of them in the face and knocked that guy directly to the ground. He is my defeated general. How do I want to deal with it? You can tell me what I want to do. Lucas stared at the clergyman, scared them back again and again, he let out a cold snort, and the three men moved back obediently. Lucas looked at Ganfor. I will stay by my side for the time being this guy. All right. Ganfer nodded, but he didn't talk like some people did not use his brain. After all, if this person can defeat Enel, it can also kill them. Ganfer directly returned the land to the Sandia, and the Sandia warriors cheered and looked at Lucas gratefully one by one. Gone fewer. The Sandia warriors felt that Lucas's mighty strength must have deterred the Sky Islanders, so these guys had the courage to decide to send this land out. But the return of the land is a good thing after all. The Sandias temporarily put aside their grievances with Sky Island, and they and Ganfer looked at Lucas one after another. Advertisement. Gone fewer. Next we are going to hold a celebration banquet, and we invite you to join us. It is also our gratitude to you. All right, Lucas nodded, just about to pull Enel behind him, walk around the land, looking for the remains of the Golden Country. A beautiful, dark-haired woman came over, and Lackey bent over to thank. Thank you so much. Nothing. Lucas waved his hand, retracted his gaze, turned around and walked away firmly, not looking at the white light that was shown by the bend. Swallowing, he pulled Enel toward the depths of the forest like his own dog. I didn't expect to run to Sky Island, there are such beautiful girls. But he is a dedicated person, and he doesn't show any mercy. The group of pirates followed honestly, they did not forget their purpose of coming to Sky Island. Since Enel is defeated, then they have to look for the Golden Country. Lucas was walking around on the island, Enel was slipped lap after lap, breathing heavily before his strength recovered. The pirates looked at Lucas puzzledly. Isn't there no Golden Country? Let's go. Lucas asked the pirate for a rope, tied to the seastone handcuffs, and pulled Enel around and walked away. Enel has a black line, always feeling that this guy is really just walking him. Lucas and the pirates came to the banquet of the Sky Islanders and Sandia people. Many people brought in a lot of alcohol, meat, and fruit. Lucas sat aside, picked up a bottle of wine and poured it directly. The Shandia people and their leader came over and came across from Lucas one after another, expressing gratitude to him solemnly. They understood that if Lucas hadn't defeated Enel today, the old man could not tell when he would return the land to them. What do you want? Lucas listened to the leader of the Sandia, and the other party had to thank the benefactor one by one. The leader looked at Lackey from time to time, and the meaning was obvious. Quote. Lucas almost spit out a sip of wine. Is he that kind of person? Is he the kind of greedy and lustful person? He is not. You have no objection to me taking one thing. Chapter 232,230. Take the bamboo shoots. Don't put such things in Enel's mouth. Advertisement. Oh, please say. The Sandia leader nodded quickly, and glanced at Lackey behind him by the way. If the other person is attracted to Lackey, it would be better. Then they Shandia have a backer. He is a serious leader, and he thinks less of this kind of thing. Quote. Lucas knew what the other party was thinking by looking at his eyes. I want to take some gold. No problem. The leader of the Sandia just agreed happily, when he was surprised to find that the other party didn't want a woman at all. Gold. Although a little distressed, he wanted to understand that the other party was referring to Shandora's gold. But the leader thought for a while, and once again agreed to Lucas, willing to give him the gold. But there is a serious problem. After so many years, no one of a Sandia knows its location. The leader looked at Lucas awkwardly. It's one thing to be willing to give Shandora's gold to Lucas, but the question is where they can find the ruin. The ancestors of Shishandia were driven out of their land by the Sky Islanders, and the people who once remembered the location of the ruins were already dead. Saying that we must do it, Shandia people don't want to owe their benefactors the kindness they don't repay. I have found it. Quote. The Shandia people said nothing. I really don't know what to say, you have already targeted their gold. The pirates looked at Lucas in surprise. How did he find the gold after walking a few laps in the forest? The envy of looking up from Mungshin who still doesn't know what color is like. Enel was handcuffed with seastone handcuffs and a sign was dangling from his mouth. Lucas first stuffed a skewers in his mouth, and then no one cared about him. He kept chewing on the sign. Enel wanted to cry without tears. He just came here and met Lucas, this guy. If you give him a little more time, he will be able to find the gold. That's great, we will pack all the gold and give it to you tomorrow. The leader clapped. Lucas and the Sandia people were drinking, while Lackey at the back stroked his head. I always feel that, it's so good, is weird. But thanks to the benefactor, they won't have any comments. After drinking and eating meat all night, everyone fell asleep. The pirates lay awkwardly on the ground, and Lucas seemed to be sleeping deeply. Advertisement. Enel glanced at the sleeping Sandia and the aboriginal people of Sky Island, and spit out the chewed lottery on the ground. He came to Lucas's side, touched the opponent's body, and was taken aback. Stop looking, I didn't get the key at all. Quote. Enel quickly put his hand back and looked at Lucas when he woke up. It turned out that this guy was not asleep. He didn't believe in anything without the key. After a while, Lucas fell asleep, he found the key, then opened the seastone handcuffs, and then killed Lucas and those who dared to offend him. Don't believe in evil. Lucas looked at Enel with a smile, and flipped through Kabuto. There was nothing inside. Quote. Enel almost spat out a mouthful of old blood, B********************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************* never considered opening handcuffs to prisoners, or that he had already lost the keys. Werewolf. Lucas almost couldn't help laughing. Nonsense, of course he didn't plan to save Annel's life. As for the key. Before he went to Sky Island, he hid somewhere on Gaia Island below. He punched Enel on the head and knocked Enel out with a severe blow. Well, the Russian sleep aid is successful. Enel fainted. If he was given another chance, he would like to say, WRNM. Lucas took out the iron chain he had brought from the pirate ship, wrapped it directly around Enel, tied Enel, and moved another huge stone, pressing one end of the iron chain under the huge stone. If Enel is given another chance, he hopes that this worm will be added with a 10,000 years period. Lucas went to bed very satisfied. The next day, early in the morning, the rustling sound of the chain made people think that whose dog was disobedient and was moving the chain. People sat up, rubbed their eyes, looked at the scene in front of them, dumbfounded. Lucas was holding a leftover bone in his hand and knocked Enel's head for a while, and Enel was fixed by him next to the boulder. An angry Enel was constantly struggling, wishing to take a bite of Lucas. You despicable fellow, you have the ability to let me go. I want you to feel how terrifying the power of God is, and let you experience what despair is. A pirate woke up and scratched his head. Hey, where are my socks and shoes? Oh, suddenly, Enel was stuffed with a pair of socks and a pair of stinky shoes. There was a lot of stuff, but Lucas stuffed it hard, and Enel felt sick and wanted to vomit. Advertisement. This B************D is too damn it. If you don't say anything else, he's going to put this kind of disgusting thing in his mouth, vomit. Enel's disgusting tears were almost streaming out. Lucas looked at each other with satisfaction, clapped his hands, feeling a little weird, and rubbed vigorously on a pirate's clothes. Quote. Lackey looked at Lucas, and his admiration for him changed slightly. Lackey. Nice job. Well, let's move the gold after breakfast. Lucas turned around and laughed. Good. The Sandia people, Sky Island people, and pirates followed Lucas all the way to the ruins and looked around. Lucas came to the golden bell in the middle of Shandora and reached out to stroke the golden bell. This golden clock and the table are all made of gold, and even many buildings are made of gold. Although he is not a greedy person, he will feel satisfied from the bottom of his heart until he stands in the middle of Shandora and strokes this golden clock. Too incredible. The pirates looked at the city ruins in shock, not only the golden clock, but also the golden buildings. He didn't know if they could bring so much gold with them. Go. My gold, this can build a ship. Before Enel finished speaking, he slapped his head. It's my gold, Lucas said. Enel crouched in the corner, cursing the B**********D bitterly. Lucas came to the golden clock. He still remembered the guy who chatted with him before. That guy wanted to prove his ancestors' innocence day after day and night after night. Although there is no agreement between them, but Lucas's feet were covered with armed colors, and he kicked directly on the golden bell. The bells ringing across the sky lingered long and slowly, toward the sky below. Lucas then kicked again on the golden bell, the bell was so loud. Gaia Island. Just coming out of the sea, Kulik, who was sitting on the shore, listened to the bells from the sky, looked at the sky, and remembered the person with whom he had talked before. The other party also believes that the Golden Township exists, and now, there is proof. Chapter 233,231. Screaming in the sky, falling fast. Advertisement. Sky Island, the remains of Shandora. A giant snake came from behind, staring blankly at the golden bell that was ringing. What a familiar bell. Snake is so touched. Lucas turned around and glanced at the giant snake, scared him to twist his body and slip away. It can be seen, but this human being has defeated the guy who can release thunder. Take as much as you can. Lucas turned around and said to the person behind him. The pirates looked at Lucas moved. They often heard that this was Sakazuki's second generation, and they would never leave a word for the pirates. But when they see it now, they just want to say, won't your conscience hurt the person who said this? Not only did Lucas not kill them, he was willing to give them the gold. Oh, so touched. Lucas looked at the energetic pirates, as well as the Sky Island people and Sandia people who helped out, with great satisfaction. After leaving Sky Island, these pirates operate a pirate ship and can help him carry the gold away. Fortunately, they were not killed in advance. People are busy, struggling to tear down a large amount of gold and ship it. And Lucas was sitting in the distance, drinking with a smile. You are going to kill them after you leave Sky Island. Enel behind Lucas said faintly. Nothing, I even saved the life of a scum like you, how could I kill them? Lucas said with a smile. Enel sighed. Everyone is a murderous character. What's there to pretend? The pirates transported a large amount of gold to the Shanghai pirate ship, and Lucas regretfully glanced at Shandora's direction and reached his limit. Although there is a lot of gold, no matter how much gold is installed, they will sink the ship. Reserve Shandora's gold. Lucas pulled the iron chain, and Enel followed him onto the pirate ship. It's time to leave. After the gold is used up, come back and get it again. Goodbye. Lucas waved to everyone at Sky Island to bid farewell. I like the banquet very much, my sister is very beautiful, and gold is very attractive, but it is time for him to go. Hey, Sky Island people raised their hands and bid farewell to Lucas and his party. The pirate ship rushed out of the White Sea and suddenly passed through an arc like a waterfall, and the entire pirate ship plunged downward in an instant. The pirates were still in a state of satisfaction when they returned home. It was not like this when they came up. Advertisement. And among this group of people, there were no accidents at all for two of them. Lucas grabbed the railing and waved goodbye to the pretty sister leisurely. And Enel, the iron chain attached to his seastone handcuffs was tied to the railing by this one, and he had no choice but to die. When the pirates were frightened, a Sky Island girl took out a whistle in her hand and blew it directly. Ah! The pirates looked at the huge octopus rushing out of the White Sea, and quickly took Lucas's arm. Don't say goodbye to your sister, hurry up. If you don't chop them, the ship will be destroyed, let alone gold. A pirate watched the octopus tentacles directly surrounding the pirate ship, and was so scared that he would shoot subconsciously. Lucas punched him on the head. You idiots, didn't you realize that this is the way to leave Sky Island? Hey! The pirates unexpectedly watched the octopus catch the pirate ship, their descending speed was much slower. So, the octopuses on Sky Island have evolved the same function as a hot air balloon. Real cowhide. Quote. Enel tilted his head, these idiots. If he said that Lucas would kill them soon, they wouldn't believe them. The huge octopus grabbed the pirate ship like a hot air balloon and slowly descended. It wiped away the non-existent sweat with its hands. Fortunately, these idiots were stopped. It would die if it was given away, which would be too unjustified. Lucas sat on the deck, sipping his drink. In fact, he was also flustered just now, and for the first time he fell from an altitude of 10,000 meters, even if there was a way of seeing off guests on Sky Island. It is inevitable to be a little flustered. There was a long bell from the sky, and Lucas looked up into the sky. They can't take all the gold, so there is no need to take the golden clock. Listen to the bell from the sky, how sweet it is. Lucas sighed, but looked away. It's a pity that I didn't find Robin, otherwise I would definitely ask him how to write, me too, in ancient characters. He saw that piece of historical text, secretly made a rubbing, and prepared to hide after leaving here. Moreover, he engraved a smiley face under Roger's words in a wicked way. I believe that people who come to Sky Island in the future will have wonderful expressions when they see that line of words and that smiling face. Advertisement. Has the historical text been read by Roger? Actually, I was seen by Marine. Although I don't understand. Vaguely, Lucas heard someone shouting, welcome to come again next time. Hiss, a must. After all, his gold hasn't been removed yet. The pirate ship slowly descended, and the pirates shouted, gold, discussing what they wanted to buy, whether to buy his 10 cannons, or go home to marry a bunch of wives. Enel sighed, these idiots. All the gold belongs to this black heart Marine. The more intense you shout, the faster you will die. Buy whatever you want, you can't owe your own enjoyment in life. Lucas said casually, and the pirates shouted more intensely. Enel is speechless. You also believe this. Hey, it seems to be smaller, right? A pirate looked up at the octopus on his forehead in confusion. How is it possible? How can the octopus shrink, you idiot, ha ha ha. Another pirate patted his companion's head and laughed. It's really small. Lucas looked at the octopus above his head and nodded. That's how Roger left Sky Island. After they landed some distance later, the octopus instantly became too small, causing the boat to fall severely on the sea. The same is true of the original Straw Hat group. Lucas hurriedly called the pirates to get Feng Bei. Gold as a thank you from the Shandora people, and the aboriginal people of Sky Island gave him a large amount of Sky Island shells as a gift. The pirates packed Feng Bei in a large backpack and placed it in front of Lucas. Lucas was holding the backpack in his hand, and as soon as something went wrong, he installed all the wind shells on the bottom of the boat as soon as possible. Although the hair was not used, the pirate ship had to be broken. But at least with some cushioning power, it can save life. Time passed slowly, and the sea breeze was blowing. Time comes tonight. Looking at the shrinking octopus, Lucas quickly picked up his backpack, walked on the moonwalk to the bottom of the boat, and stuck the wind shells on the bottom of the boat. A large number of frontal wind shells spouted out of the wind. The speed of the hull descent is not so fast. Hurried back to the boat, holding the things around him. The pirates didn't breathe a sigh of relief, but the octopus suddenly became a little bit. Ah! Above the sky, there were screams of people. Chapter 234,232. We surrender. Subscribe. Please reward. Advertisement. Above the sea, 2 pirate boats approached, and the pirates fought together, fighting frantically. Suddenly, above the sky, a pirate ship crashed down. The pirates on both sides looked at the pirate ship that fell from the side in shock, and even stopped the fight, one by one raised their heads to the sky, their faces full of puzzlement. From the sky, drop a ship. Suddenly, a person appeared on a pirate ship, and a pirate lifted a knife to cut it subconsciously. The knife went up and down, and the pirate fell in a pool of blood. Lucas shook the knife in his hand and looked at the pirates in front of him. The good news is that their ship did not sink on sight, and the bad news is that the ship will sink soon after sailing. He still had a large amount of gold to be transported away, so seeing the 2 pirate groups fighting together under the night, he started to grab the ship. Get off! A young pirate scolded. Puff! The next moment, a stab wound appeared on his body, and the whole person flew backwards quickly, sprinkling blood. It's really lucky, I levied your ship. Lucas said. Regardless of whether these guys agreed, he rushed into the crowd and quickly slashed and killed the pirates. The pirates who followed him down from Sky Island screamed and rushed to the intact pirate ship and rushed to kill. Enel sat on the original pirate ship and looked at these guys speechlessly. Soon after, Lucas killed the people on the 2 pirate ships and transported all the gold to the intact pirate ship. The pirate ship sailed again, and Enel changed to rest, waiting for the chance to escape. Because of the sea breeze when they were in the air, their course deviated and they had already left the original range of Guy Island. So when they landed, they didn't land on the original Guy Island, but halfway through, they passed a deserted island. Lucas asked the pirates to stop the ship, put a luggage bag on his back, and took Enel to the island. At this time, some of the pirates were preparing food and wine for the evening, and some were smiling sillily while holding gold. Lucas pulled the iron chain in his hand, and Enel followed behind him. Aren't you afraid that they will run away with gold? Enel said. He really wanted to see the pirate leave with the gold, and Lucas was thrown on the desert island. I pay attention to them. If I dare to go, I will kill them. Lucas said coldly. Enel was helpless, and right, as long as this guy perceives the situation of those guys, and the other party wants to run, Lucas's speed can definitely catch up. Lucas stayed away from the pirates and took Enel to a cave. He put all kinds of fruits by Enel's side. Advertisement. The long knife in his hand pulled out its sheath and smiled at Enel. Gold is not the biggest gain. If Enel can drop a thunder fruit, that is his biggest gain. Quote. Enel looked at Lucas speechlessly. Could this guy be holding some kind of cult ceremony? Or is this guy purely cutting fruit with a knife for him to eat? Don't be so arrogant in your next life. After Lucas finished speaking, he swiped a knife and directly pierced Enel's heart to pieces. Boom. Enel fell down intently, and he didn't figure out what Lucas was going to do when he died. Lucas sat on the ground, waiting quietly. It is also helpless. Over the years, he has often encountered people with abilities that he likes quite often. But for many years, no fruit has been obtained by this method. As for the thunder fruit that can be reached, he has no idea in his heart. After a while, a fruit changed. Lucas raised his spirits, and looked at the fruit with great excitement. After several years, he finally reaped a fruit, which was Logia's fruit. Ecstasy from the non-chief. Lucas put the thunder fruit away, put it in his backpack, and burned Enel's body on fire. The pirates looked at Lucas in surprise. Where is Enel? Ran. After Lucas finished speaking, whether these guys believe it or not, just sit down and rest. On the second day, the pirate ship set sail again. Lucas was playing with seastone handcuffs and looking at the sea. If the prisoner is captured alive, it is better to keep the key and give it to the prisoner when the prison is handed over. But if there is no plan to save the prisoner's life, it will be easier to do, and he will be cut directly. Behind him, some pirates gave birth to crooked minds. They were preparing to poison Lucas at breakfast. No one is stupid, they know what happened to Enel. It seemed that Lucas hadn't even thought of keeping them alive. The pirates also planned to fight and poisoned Lucas. They were all happy, sitting on all the gold, and still survived. Unfortunately, they made a wrong bet. A pirate had just brought breakfast to Lucas, and Lucas pushed the meal back directly. You eat, I'm not hungry. Advertisement. Quote. The pirates trembled in their hearts and prepared for the worst. But no one wants to be the first person to rush up, and no one wants to be the first to die. So many people choose to play dumb and wait for the time to escape from this ship. They also had some gold in their pockets anyway. As long as you live, you will not lose. Soon after, a warship sailed from afar. Just as a pirate was about to fire his gun, Lucas slashed it down. From now on, let me squat on the deck honestly. Lucas stood up and waved the long knife in his hand. Then he turned around and waved to Marine in the distance. Jonathan Vice Admiral looked at Lucas, who was waving at him on the pirate boat, in surprise. What the hell was it? How did this guy get on the pirate ship? However, it seemed that the other party had subdued the pirates. He waved his hand and ordered the general ship to lean over. What's the matter? Jonathan said, looking at Lucas. What's the matter? Do you want to send you the pirates? Lucas said with a smile, pointing to the pirates behind him. He really didn't want to kill these pirates, he just handed them to Marine. As for whether these Marines kill the pirates or catch the pirates, that is not his responsibility. Quote. Jonathan sighed, and said to his heart that this guy would be looking for trouble. Marines came to the pirate ship and caught the pirates one by one, but there were a little more people, so. Most of the pirates were killed on the spot, and a small number of pirate group officials arrested them. Take this ship to your G8 branch. It's all my personal property. Lucas said with a smile, and Jonathan had a black line. Are you special? Jonathan used to hear that Lucas let his doctors treat the poor for free, and the orphanage took the initiative to take in street children, take care of them, and educate them. But when I saw it today, why did this guy smell like copper? Hey, the warship carried the pirate ship and sailed towards the G8 Marine branch. Jonathan looked at the pirate ship full of gold, dumbfounded. Lucas, this guy won't rob a kingdom, will he? Chapter 235,233. A little bit of fruit to add moisture. Advertisement. Tell me honestly, what the hell did you do? Jonathan looked at Lucas with a serious face. Lucas needs money to do his good deeds, Jonathan understands. But if his hospitals and orphanages are short of money, as long as they say that everyone is a fellow, how could they not help? But if this guy is short of money and robs some of the royal family, then Jonathan can't sit still. This is against the principle. In any case, Marine grabbing money is a matter of touching the bottom line. Don't worry, I found these gold from a ruin. Lucas waved his hand, took a sip of wine and said with a smile. Really? Jonathan didn't believe it, and looked at Lucas questioningly. Unfortunately, if he can beat this kid, he will be tied up and brought to Sakazuki for interrogation again. Have you heard that which kingdom was robbed? No. That's incredible. Lucas picked up a gold brick and weighed it for a while. The more he touched it, the happier. Over the years, hospitals and orphanages have consumed too much money. He often used the two institutions to improve his reputation and do good deeds, which is too costly. With this gold, he can finally live a wealthy life again. After all, his two institutions are not for profit. The welfare home takes the initiative to accept a large number of homeless children. It's really not profitable, but the benefits it brings are also obvious. There is a steady stream of young Marines choosing to be his subordinates. Or choose to become his subordinates. Anyway, many Marines have made his faction grow a lot. It is too troublesome for the Revolutionary Army to fight and make trouble all day long, and it is more reliable for him to come directly to occupy the Magpie's nest. The warship came to the G8 branch, and the pirate ship docked on the shore. The Marines received Jonathan's order, one by one, to help Lucas transport large amounts of gold to the shore and to the warehouse. You divide it slowly. Lucas gave a bag of gold to the Marines as a tip. Quote. Jonathan glanced at the subordinates who divided the gold, then glanced at Lucas. Before he spoke, his hand sank. Lucas put the gold brick in his hand before. Wealthy and self-willed, Lucas walked into G8 with his hands behind his back, humming and walking away. Jonathan touched the gold brick in his hand and sighed. It's not that he is depraved, but that his colleagues are too active. Advertisement. Hey, rich and wayward. Forget it, you just have to be happy. Lucas contacted his men, and a few days later, his warship would pick him up and help him with the gold. And these days, he has lived in G8. Jonathan just took his eyes off the alluring gold brick with difficulty, and suddenly realized that Lucas was gone. At the same time, Lucas was walking in the corridor of the G8 branch, asking about the way to Marine, walking all the way to the cafeteria. Opening the door of the canteen, Lukaska smelled the scent inside, appetizing wide. You are. A young Marine looked at the familiar face who walked in with surprise. Lucas waved his hand, walked in and wanted to have some food. He was already hungry. Marine hurriedly prepared the meal in surprise, and soon brought the meal to Lucas. Not only this young Marine, but many Marines recognized Lucas. Lucas sat aside, looking at these guys puzzled. Aren't you working? Lucas took a bite of the meal and found that he had been watched. Only then did the chefs disperse, one by one absent-mindedly preparing meals. For some young Marines, it is also a good choice to become Lucas's subordinates. Among them are many admirers of Lucas. Okay, it's delicious. While a chef was washing the dishes, he watched Lucas start eating the second portion. Third, fourth. A pile of plates was piled up on the table in front of Lucas, and the Marines discussed in a low voice, guessing how many plates Lucas could eat. Oh, a beautiful woman with yellow hair in a chef's uniform walked in and looked at Lucas, who was eating wildly in surprise. She recognized Lucas, walked in and greeted Lucas, and sat down for him in person. Jonathan came in with Jessica. He sat next to Lucas and looked at the stack of plates in front of Lucas. Sure enough, powerful guys can eat it. Jessica brought a prepared meal to Lucas and sat across from him watching him eat. Tisk Tusk, your cooking skills are amazing. I really want to invite you to Marineford. Lucas joked. Advertisement. Ha ha ha, waiting for your invitation. After Jessica finished, she glanced at Jonathan with wicked fun. Jonathan turned away speechlessly. At this time, Jonathan and Jessica have not yet come together, but they already have feelings for each other. Lucas ate up Jessica's food in a while, took the second meal from Jessica, and continued to do it. He doesn't need Jessica to get on his boat. Sanji will grow up in a few years. Then the chef on his boat will be Sanji. As night fell, Lucas and Jonathan sat in the office. He still had a bottle of wine in his hand, and Jonathan put the gold bricks in the drawer and fiddled with his fishing rod. The door of the house was opened, and a Marine stood at the door, saluting the report. A warship that had been in a shipwreck came to G8 before, but what was caught off guard was that there were pirates disguised as Marine on that warship. Now the pirates have left the Marine team directly, not knowing when they will threaten G8. Marine speculates that there may be a group of pirates who will join together outside and inside, trying to break the unbreakable G8 fortress. Jonathan glanced at Lucas with a look of expectation. Lucas's S gold is stored in their fortress warehouse. With Lucas's S insurance, he feels that he doesn't need to use any tactics. G8 is steady. I'm sleepy, I'll go to bed soon. Lucas sighed and ignored Jonathan's gaze. Hey, I have to take care of his gold bricks. A bunch of unworthy little pirates, leave it to Jonathan. Quote. Jonathan couldn't help laughing, but he could only make suggestions and give orders to Marine. Lucas stood on the windowsill, took a sip of wine with a wine glass in his hand and looked at the bright moon. It's not strange to you, I'm not sleepy anymore. Quote. Jonathan sighed, almost done. What is this? Jonathan looked at Lucas's backpack on the chair curiously. He hadn't let this backpack leave since he saw Lucas. A little bit of hydrating fruit. Lucas said with a smile. But there was a devil fruit mixed in. Just as Jonathan was about to open it to take a look, Lucas took the backpack away like a treasure. Quote. Chapter 236,234. The ownership of Thunder Fruit. For subscription. For reward. Advertisement. In the backpack is Thunder Fruit, such an important thing, Lucas must protect it well. Thunder Fruit will not be given to the world government, nor to Marine, but as a reward for the best non-fruit abilities of his subordinates in the future. A powerful Logia devil fruit. If he holds a large-scale marine competition for this, he will definitely cultivate a strong enough subordinate for him. Lucas took a sip of wine, looked at Jonathan with a smile, and said, "It's just that a capable person will explode if eaten." Quote. Jonathan understood. There was a devil fruit after a long time of trouble. How did he say that Lucas was so mysterious? Lucas spent a few days resting in the G8 branch, and the fellow Jonathan naturally used his methods to catch all the pirates. Because he only revealed the news of Lucas's large amount of gold in the base, the pirates instantly forgot the purpose of entering. One by one, they tried to get the gold, but they were all arrested. A warship sailed into the G8 branch, and Marines who had been waiting for a long time carried Lucas's gold onto his warship. A female with blue curly hair, Colonel Marine, and a male with white hair, Colonel Marine approached and saluted Lucas. These two are Zephyr students in the same class as Ain and Binz and are now his subordinates. Ain and Binz had already been sent to their own marine base, and they followed Lucas to help Lucas handle some affairs. Up to now, Lucas has not understood why he went to sea with Zephyr back then, why the guy in the original who had the courage to attack Zephyr did not appear. Until now, no one had attacked Zephyr, which puzzled him. What did you do to make history collapse like this? But this is also very good, the two people did not die in that tragedy like the original. Zephyr is still cultivating new Marines every year. Lucas looked at his gold shipment, walked up to Jonathan, and glanced at Jessica on the side. There was a word in Jonathan's ear, and he laughed and walked away. Jonathan had a black line, and Jessica blushed. As the warship left the G8 fortress, Lucas waved goodbye to the two on the shore. Sanji is 13 this year. Although he is not very old, he has become the most important man in life at home. Advertisement. Sanji cooks 3 meals a day. After all, Lucas keeps saying that Sakazuki's meals are really unpalatable. In order to make this stupid brother happy, Sanji had to cook Tenten himself. In normal exercises, other people will start to be lazy as long as Lucas or Sakazuki is gone. At this time Sanji will actively urge them to continue exercising. Tenten shouted to be Lucas's helper, and as a result, everybody was lazier than the other as soon as they left. Not right. There is one exception. Luffy, who is 2 years younger than him, is doing exercises like Tenten. The appetite is getting bigger. Brother Lucas just came back, but they weren't excited yet to give a hug with the eldest brother. As soon as the eldest brother heard that a certain woman was back, he disappeared. Meat. Luffy hugged the sea beast meat that Lucas brought back, and smiled happily. It has been several years since he was taken to Marineford violently. From the very beginning, I am not a Marine, I want to be the One Piece. Later, Lucas Tenten took various delicacies and various meat bribes. Now Luffy is in the shape of Big Brother Lucas in his heart. It was not until the evening that Lucas came back, and Monet came to the house with him. Monet was transferred back from the Marine branch. Lucas suffocated, causing Sanji to look at him puzzled. What the hell did the eldest brother do? He kept getting sleepy when he came back. Little puzzled eyes kept looking back and forth between a man and a woman. What do you plan to do with that devil fruit? Monet asked. Choose the strongest person among all my subordinates. Lucas breathed and said with a smile. Not long after, Sakazuki came back and also asked Lucas about this matter. Thunder fruit, this is a powerful Logia devil fruit. As long as the capable person himself is not too bad, he can cultivate a powerful marine. Since Lucas came back, he announced the incident among his subordinates, and many people in Marine had thoughts about thunder fruit. However, few people dared to ask Lucas for this fruit. First, not so shameless, and second, unable to beat it. Advertisement. People who have played Lucas are too lazy. On the second day, Lucas walked out of the yard and walked towards the training ground. He rubbed his hands on the way. He didn't feel pricked last night. Lucas had just arrived in his office and sat down to rest, and his old men rushed over one by one. All the shameless guys relied on being old men, brazenly trying to win the fruit into their own hands. As a result, one by one was scolded bloody, and incidentally did one thing for Lucas. That is, all the incompetent subordinates of Lucas will compete in the next few months. Choose the best one from everyone, and then Devil Fruit will hand it over to the other party. Of course, Devil Fruit will only give to those old men who have newly joined the time slot but have not labeled him. It is impossible to get the fruit. After all, this was what he prepared to cultivate his loyal subordinates. He wouldn't be foolish to send the fruit out just because of a sentence of justice or something. There are indeed many people in this world who have dedicated themselves to their ideals, but it is a pity that he has not been able to do such a thing for the time being. Too pure ideal, either a liar or an idiot. Lucas was sitting in the office drinking tea, when a Marine came in and said something to him. This incident also solved his doubts for many years. This year, the world government will select 3 Admiral, and the 3 Admirals should have been selected a few years ago, because Sakazuki suffered a heavy hand injury and the reason why 5 Elders is optimistic about Lucas. The matter was postponed for several years. This year, Pelusolino, Kuzan and Lucas will be promoted to the new Admiral. In fact, 5 Elders doesn't like a certain salted fish, but there is no way, Sakazuki has something out of it, which has some influence on his strength. And these days, it happened that another group of Zephyr students officially joined the Marine team, and many of them came to Lucas's S. Lucas walked out of the office, all the way to the training ground. looking at some new faces in the team in the training ground, smiling. Only with more powerful subordinates can we have more say in Marine. Chapter 237,235. The Blue-Nosed Reindeer. Advertisement. There is a big event this year, and that is the holding of the World Summit. According to the plot, the danger of Dorag will be discussed at the World Summit. But Lucas didn't care much about it. For him, there was one thing that caught his attention. He was holding a newspaper in his hand, which read a picture accidentally taken by a reporter who accidentally sneaked into the drum country in order to photograph the chaos in the drum country. It was a human-shaped reindeer with a blue nose. He was holding his head and running awkwardly in the snow forest, being driven away by the reindeer herd. In the second picture, the blue-nosed reindeer tries to integrate into humans, but once again ran away from the town in embarrassment and was driven away by humans. The reporter simply thought that this was an idiot who accidentally ate devil fruit, and did not follow any news about the blue-nosed reindeer afterwards. Tony Chopper. Lucas looked ecstatic, looking at the macho reindeer in the newspaper photo, ecstatic in his heart. Touching the photo with his hand, Lucas made up his mind that he would take the chopper pillow home. It doesn't matter if other people can't find it, but a pillow must be there. There is still some time before Admiral is promoted, and the competition of his subordinates also requires a period of preparation. The World Summit will be held soon, and he plans to go to the drum country to take home the chopper pillow. As we all know, the feel of pet pillows will always be better than that of OP. Are you going to the drum country? Sengoku looked at Lucas, handed over the plate containing the senbei, and nodded after thinking about it. Alright, then you can escort the king of the drum country to Mariajoy by the way. Understood. Lucas stretched out his hand and took the senbei and ate it, and glanced at Garp on the opposite side. It is said that he had some contact with the drum country, that is, after the king of the drum country launched an idiot policy, he took the opportunity to snatch away a large number of excellent doctors. Some of those doctors work in Lucas's hospital, some work as medics in his faction in the army, and some work in the Marine Scientific Corps. To be honest, his subordinates have no good impressions of the current king of the drum kingdom. But this does not affect his good mood. It is too simple to escort Wapol, the king of the drum country. Of course, he will not pay attention to this SB, as long as it is easy to ensure that Wapol is not dead. It's just a Wapol, he doesn't need to be afraid of each other yet. Packed up his own things, took a few of his subordinates, and took the warship all the way towards the drum country. Advertisement. Inside the captain of the warship, Lucas was drinking tea and looking at Monet on the opposite side. He always felt that after a few days, somewhere was a lot bigger. Cough. Be more serious. A few days later, the drum country, sure. Coming to this winter island again, Lucas stepped on the snow and walked towards the country. As the two most trusted by the king of the drum kingdom, Jace and Chromoliman came to the shore early to welcome Lucas's arrival. Jace led Lucas very sensibly, welcomed him, and by the way explained how Lucas would pay bribbish Lucas one by one. Now in this country, apart from the king, the two of them have the greatest rights. The two have always been arrogant, but since Wapol took power in China, it is not just a medical retrogression for decades. Their domestic military strength is also much worse than before, and management, logistics, and even training are too loose. They also relied on their power to bully the bottom of the country, and every time they met a slightly more powerful pirate, they had to be beaten up. Jace decided to please the Marine and make their lives safer in the future. Even this guy arranged for a woman, and Lucas sent Jace away with a black line on his face. This B*********** D really thinks he's so foolish. I'm very sorry, and please forgive them for their rudeness. The captain of the guard Dalton walked over and said embarrassedly. Since the death of the old king, this country has changed. But he didn't know how to change the destiny of this country. As the captain of the guard, he was full of confusion about the future of drum country. Nothing. Lucas waved his hand and walked down the street, looking at the drum-like mountains in the distance of town. Can you take me around? Of course. Dalton readily agreed, walking ahead, introducing Lucas to the environment of the country. In fact, Dalton had been in contact with Lucas before. Have you considered leaving this bad country and joining Marine? Lucas joked. Don't be kidding, I think this country can be saved. Dalton couldn't help but laugh. This guy still dares to speak so much. Advertisement. But that's right, Wapol couldn't beat him again, and he couldn't help him in power. Walking on the road, Lucas looked around. Before leaving the town, he saw a man wearing a bowler hat and carrying a medical kit hurriedly running away. Behind him, a group of guards shouted, "Don't run," and chased after him. Go up. Dalton looked at Mr. Shirulik who was running away awkwardly, not knowing what to say. He is a doctor and his heart is good. Dalton said. He didn't want Lucas to catch each other. Lucas nodded and continued to walk towards the mountain of Drum Island. Shirulik, he knows, a great doctor, who only has third-rate medical skills but wants to save this country through spiritual healing. This guy has a good heart, but his medical skills are really hard to describe. In fact, the tragedy of Drum Nation is very easy to solve. Find a group of pirates to kill Wapol, then let Marine kill the pirates, and then let the more considerate civilian Dalton be king. Simple, rude and easy. Lucas didn't care about Shiluruk's affairs. He walked into the snow forest and looked around, hoping to find Chopper. Now he doesn't know if Chopper has met Shiluruk, so the name Tony Chopper is not necessarily the current name of Chopper. I did not find the footprints of the reindeer, nor did I see the figure of the reindeer. Instead, a group of grumpy Laban ran out. Rabang is a creature unique to the country of magnetic drums. The Labangs rushed over, and before yelling, Lucas punched a Labang on the head. Just as the other Rabang was about to take a shot for his companion, he received a heavy blow to his head and squatted aggrievedly on the snow, not daring to resist. Not long after, Labang crouched in front of Lucas. They looked up at this terrible human pitifully, their eyes widened with great effort. Look, whether it's a woman or a ferocious monster, as long as you use force, it will be very cute and well behaved. Do you understand me? The Labangs nodded repeatedly, rubbing their heads with their paws. Get beaten if you don't obey. Bring him to me, go, and be alive and well. Lucas took out the newspaper and pointed to the blue-nosed reindeer in the photo. Chapter 238,236. Unprepared Gentle. Advertisement. The Labangs gathered around, poking their heads and looking at the guy above. Obviously a reindeer, how do you feel stronger than them? Clear. The Labangs quickly nodded their heads humanely, and turned around one by one to help the boss find the deer. Although Labang is grumpy and aggressive, there is one thing they cannot deny, that they admire the strong. Whoever beats them will respect the strong. Dalton looked at Lucas in surprise, and the group of Raban who turned to look for the reindeer. He never expected that Rabang could still use it in this way. To be honest, I always feel that this group of Labang is better than your guards. Quote. Dalton took a deep breath. As the captain of the world's best guard, he really had nothing to say. But, it hurts to speak out with your strength. The drum country is on a winter island, and the country is shrouded in winter all year round. In the snow forest, one by one reindeer drove their cubs to home. After they left, there was a rustle in the woods. A small, blue-nosed reindeer walked out upright. He looked at his parents who were going away, holding a small tree, aggrieved and choked. He didn't understand what he did wrong, but he accidentally ate a strange fruit, and it became what he is now. His parents disliked him, and the ethnic group regarded him as a stranger and drove him out. He has been trying to explain to everyone, but no deer is willing to listen to even one explanation. If the race is afraid of him, the alien should get out of the race. He bit his hoof aggrievedly, so hungry. Gululu. When he was about to find something to eat, he heard a running sound from a distance, and he quickly hid behind the tree. A Rabang passed by, looking at this deer-like bewildered guy in a puzzled way. What is the strange behavior of reverse hiding? Compared with the strong reindeer in the impression, it shook its head and left directly. The blue-nosed reindeer looked at this guy puzzledly. Advertisement. These guys are very grumpy, what are they looking for? Without thinking, the blue-nosed reindeer continued to search for food. In this way, Labang, who was most familiar with the snow-capped mountains, passed by the blue-nosed reindeer one by one, and for the small blue-nosed reindeer, they all chose to ignore them. Really? Blind in strength. Lucas walked on the snow-capped mountain, reaching out his hand to rip off the low-hanging branches, sloshing snow and falling. The country of snow scenery also has a different kind of beauty, but in his opinion, this kind of snow scenery like this all year round is not a beautiful scenery, and it is like a disaster for people. This kind of environment with a lot of extreme weather is the most in this world. It was getting late and the cold wind blew. Lucas rubbed his hands, looked at the depressed Laban in front of him, waved away from the snow-capped mountain. These idiots are not as good as a reporter, they can't even find a blue-nosed reindeer. Okay, that's a slap in the face. But Lucas suddenly thought of one thing, that is, Chopper, may now be in another form. The reporter photographed the macho, Chopper, and the most common form of Chopper is still cute and well behaved. Hiss. This group of idiots Labang will not just look for sturdy reindeer and ignore the blue nose feature, right? Let's talk tomorrow. During the day, Lucas didn't have Jason Chromolimon at all, but in the evening Wapple feasted him. He still had to look at the identity of the opposing king. After all, he will escort each other in a few days, and walk through the process more or less. As soon as he arrived at Wapple's castle, Lucas saw Wapple standing inside the door. This stuff was very thick and looked at him with a nose-dangled nose. Is this a king too? Well, reincarnation is a technical job. The atmosphere of the dinner tonight was not very good. Wapple stared at Monet, who was beside Lucas, all the time, but Lucas and Monet did not hang the hanging person at all. What Wapple said, both of them just dealt with it, which made His Majesty the King very shameless. Just as Wapple was about to start cursing, Jason Chromolimon quickly changed the subject. Lucas was not from their country, and it was she lazy to be arrogant in front of him. Jason and the others know this best. For this kind of people, except for some of the upper Marines, for most people, they respect the strong. On the second day, Lucas and Monet continued to go down the snow-capped mountains under Dalton, looking for the blue-nosed reindeer. Dalton looked at Lucas and sighed. In fact, when the old king was still there, his attitude towards this country was not the same as it is now. Advertisement. Wapple took office and formulated a series of policies that offend doctors. Most of the excellent doctors in the Drum Nation were taken over by Lucas's troops. Most of his military medical subordinates held hatred for the Drum Nation king. The doctors had the most contact with the Marines, and their feelings sometimes infected those. Marine. And Lucas himself is not happy with the current king of Drum Country, so most of his subordinates don't like the upper echelons of this country. Lucas squatted in the snow, looking at the footprints on the snow, and patted Labang leading the way. Reindeer walking on 2 feet. The Marines behind Lucas looked at the footprints on the snow in surprise. It should be a reindeer that ate devil fruit by mistake, Lucas said, following Laban. Why isn't it a human who ate devil fruit by mistake? Monet asked his question with a smile. Quote. Lucas looked back and smiled. Woman, don't be too arrogant, you look good at night. Monet was even more excited. Quote. On the snowy ground, a little blue-nosed reindeer with an hungry stomach was running upright, and he regretted it now. Yesterday the group of Lebang was still looking for something, thinking about helping them, maybe they could get some food. As a result, as soon as I found the group of Laban early in the morning, those guys yelled, "Brother, don't run, we've been looking for you all day." Quote. Chopper was panicked. Lebang is a group of grumpy and aggressive guys. They found themselves for a day, so what else can they do besides hitting him? He didn't listen to anything, turned his head and ran away. Running all the way thinking, how did these idiots pass by him yesterday without recognizing him? It didn't take long for him to be surrounded by a group of fierce and wicked Lebang. They were numerous and powerful, and he was exhausted after being hungry for a long time. Squatting in the snowdrift, he looked at these big men and gave up struggling to lie on the snow and panting. A Laban stretched out his paw and touched his head, touching it gently. Hey, he looked at these guys a little puzzled, didn't he hit him? When did Lebang modify the child? Lebang, who was surrounding him, separated, and a man and a woman walked from outside. So cute. Bridge bean sacks. Chopper didn't even have a chance to resist, so he was picked up by himself. Chapter 239-237. The World Summit is held. Advertisement. Soft, with some fragrance. It was these two groups that were really crowded for him when he was young. At this age, he has endured a heavy burden that he should not bear. Lucas couldn't help laughing. Chopper is indeed a woman killer. Monet looked at such a small and cute blue-nosed reindeer walking upright and couldn't help but hug it. Knead vigorously. After a long time. In a warm room in the town. The blue-nosed reindeer sits on a stool, holding a warm water glass in his hand, and a large amount of food is placed in front of it. He opened his mouth and almost cried. In fact, when he first saw human beings, he instinctively wanted them to stay away from him. After all, he had been driven away by humans with a gun, and he was instinctively resistant to humans. But, Sister Monet's gentleness came too suddenly. Sure enough, the most useful thing to influence a child is the gentle embrace of the older sister. Eat, you're welcome, Lucas said, and put a plate full of food in front of the blue-nosed reindeer, and put a plate full of food in front of him, and began to eat wildly. The blue-nosed reindeer always felt something was wrong, but seeing Lucas's amazing appetite, he forgot what he had to say. His small mouth was round, and he gave a surprised look. It's delicious. Before he finished sighing, he was stuffed with a piece of bread. He was a little caught off guard for this kind of direct gentleness. While eating bread and drinking the hot porridge offered by Monet's sister, his calves dangled on the stool, tilted his head and looked at Lucas. This human being who was full of kindness to him was different from the other humans he had seen. Little guy, have you figured out the way forward? Lucas suddenly raised his head and asked. What? The blue-nosed reindeer was dumbfounded by the question. His nose was a little sour and his eyes were a little moist. Thinking of his own experience, he didn't know where to go and what to look forward to. The blue-nosed reindeer talked about his own experience slowly. Lucas looked at him and said, "You have been trying to blend in, trying to get the approval of others, and being able to have friends is not lonely, right?" Advertisement. The blue-nosed reindeer nodded thoughtfully. That's it. But he has been hit by reality, although he was moved by Lucas and Monet, but deep in his heart, he was more or less afraid that they were people with ulterior motives. Lucas told the blue-nosed reindeer of Devil Fruit's knowledge, and said that he had a way to get his approval from others. He looked at Lucas in surprise and wanted to hear how to do it. The Drum Country used to be one of the few major medical countries in the world. It used to have the most excellent doctors and extremely advanced medical skills. But the new king's policy completely ruined the future of this country. If one day, you can use medical skills to remind the world of the medical skills of the Drum Country again, you will surely win the respect and recognition of many people. Lucas smiled and looked at each other. It happened that most of the doctors in Drum Country were under his hands, except for an old woman. Really? The blue-nosed reindeer stared at Lucas excitedly, his small eyes rounded. Really cheat. A few days later, the warship escorted the king's ship from Drum Nation to leave Drum Nation. Snow Yamanaka, inside a cabin. Dr. Shirulik sat at the door, watching the heavy snow in the sky, and sighed. In fact, it should be happily. He was taken care of by a great marine, and he was given a sum of money to develop his dreams, and the guards never dared to catch him anymore. But the requirement is that he is not allowed to use his third-rate medical skills for horrible patients. Ahem, it's actually nothing. But he always felt that there was something missing in his life. It was as if the original fate had been cut off. Hey, Kuleha drank the wine and passed the cabin, glanced at Shiluruk, and left with a sigh, which caused Shiluruk to be surprised. Kuleha felt uncomfortable for some reason, always feeling that he had lost something important. I don't understand it, but I feel uncomfortable. At the same time, the warship has not left the climatic range of Drum Island. Lucas sat on the deck of the warship with Chopper in his arms. He did not change Chopper's name. Rubbing Chopper's furry body vigorously, Lucas took a sip of wine. With the Chopper pillow, I won't be cold when drinking in the cold wind. Quote. Chopper struggled for a while, but didn't get rid of his clutches, so he had to give up resistance. Advertisement. One thing in common with his original fate is that his closest person is still an alcoholic. Drink less, it's not good for your health. Chopper patted Lucas on the arm angrily. Good guy, you asked me to study medicine, and I was so drunk as a result, it was too much. Also Chopper pillow, don't be so arrogant. Lucas patted the little hat on Chopper's head and ignored Chopper's anger. He went to help the third-rate doctor. Perhaps it was Destiny G's last dying struggle. Coincidentally, Shirulik sent the Chopper hat to him. After Chopper got on the ship, he learned one thing, that is, most of the original doctors in their drum country had been abducted by Lucas. When it comes to abducting talents, Lucas is very skilled. In the future, Chopper will not worry about the teacher when he learns medicine. The doctors in all fields are under Lucas's hands. Just like that, Lucas rubbed Chopper's head and escorted a hanging man towards Mariajoy. A few days later, Sabayati Archipelago not far from the Red Line. The two warships met. Lucas meets Hina, who is escorting the Alabasta royal family. Hina saw the little reindeer that Lucas was holding, and the corner of her eyes jumped. This guy didn't kidnap gifted children and started kidnapping animals. This kid, every time he goes to sea, he is either on the road of meritorious service or on the road of abducting talents. It is really powerless to complain. King Cobra saw Lucas and hurried over to greet him. The two were chatting. King Cobra wanted to communicate with Wapol, but the other party just made a mockery and was impatient to let Lucas take him to Mariajoy. Of course Lucas didn't hang Wapol, chatting with Cobra and walking all the way. Behind Cobra, a little girl poked her head out and stuck her tongue out at the little reindeer that Lucas was holding. So cute. Vivi looked at Chopper and couldn't help but want to touch his head. Woo. Chopper just wanted to say hello when Lucas covered his mouth. I'm going to Mariajoy in a while, he better shut up. As a marine, what's weird about keeping a cute reindeer? Vivi glared at Lucas and made a face at him. Chapter 240,238. Scared Wapol. For subscription. For monthly pass. For reward. Advertisement. While taking King Cobra and others to Mariajoy, Lucas also met King Liku from Dressrosa and Cyrus, who personally escorted King Liku. The two chatted together for a long time. The World Summit lasted for a long time. Wapol walked out angrily. Lucas chatted with Cyrus and Alabasta's guard captain. Wapol glanced at the little girl who was looking around not far away, Princess Vivi. Can't beat her lousy. Wapol walked over angrily, slapped Princess Vivi to vent her anger, and said, hands slipped. Wapol didn't estimate Lucas and the many guards at all. In his opinion, he was a king, and he missed a little girl. What's the big deal? The king who can issue the Dr. 20 policy does not care whether the two countries go to war. Lucas grabbed Princess Weiwei to her side, then glanced back at Wapol, murderous. Wapol's legs softened and fell directly to the ground, shaking all over, looking at Lucas in fear, like a beast. What do you want to do? Wapol hid behind Jace. The arrogant king was about to threaten him with harsh words, but he was glared again, and his whole body was so excited that he shut up obediently and couldn't say a word. The lord of a country is so unbearable. Cyrus and others looked at Wapol contemptuously. No matter what it was, they couldn't tell that he was a qualified lord of a country. Lucas didn't pay attention to Wapol at all. He saw Cobra approaching, returned Princess Vivi to him, and turned away. Not to mention the content of the meeting, he also knew that it was about Dorag. After chatting with acquaintances of the two countries for a while, he happened to go back to deal with his own affairs. Princess Vivi hid behind her father and watched the man leave. Such a powerful person, suddenly scared a king out of resistance. Is this the advantage of the strong? In the following days, Lucas continued training as usual, and for his subordinates, began a long period of competition. After a few months, the strongest subordinate will get the Thunder Fruit. Although the shortcomings of Devil Fruit are obvious, those with the ability are disgusted by the sea. But it is indeed a good choice to quickly train strong people. Marine Headquarters, Marineford. Kuzan greeted Lucas with a smile. The boy who was beaten by Marineford Tenton and made trouble everywhere, has now risen strongly and became one of the 3 admirals soon. For Kuzan, Lucas still feels. Advertisement. Cycling at sea. Just find an island and start to sleep, go back to Marineford by cycling at sea, and just lie down on the office floor to sleep. Anyway, his impression of Kuzan is only, on the way to the sleeping place by bike. And the words pirate triathlon. Of course, if you really want to compare Kuzan and Pelusolino who is lazier, it would be too difficult. This time Kuzan came, actually Lucas made an appointment with him. Although Monet was able to consume more energy and make it more difficult to lower the temperature of the snow, in Lucas's view, this was far from enough. He wanted Kuzan to give Monet some advice and train her by the way. The 3 came to the training ground together. Kuzan thought for a while and tried to give Monet some advice. Although he is playing ice, there are some similarities between the two abilities. Lucas sat outside the training ground, watching the little guy Kira who was crying in the distance. What's the matter? Lucas knelt down and wiped Kira's tears. Woo, they call me ugly. Kira told me about what happened. When they were resting in the afternoon, Kira ran out to play with children in the residential area. As a result, a group of little ghosts were curious about his hair covering. What does the face look like? The group of little ghosts directly pushed Kira to the ground, slashed his hair, and laughed and cursed. Whose kid? Lucas said, rubbing Kira's head. Let him know who the kid is, and hit the kid's father directly. He won't tell us either. Kid ran over at this moment and said with a sigh. When Kid heard this, he was very angry, and he wished to beat up those little ghosts 7 or 8 times. Am I really that ugly? Kira raised his head and cried. Lucas lifted Kira's hair and looked at him with a smile, with his head pressed against Kira's head. Nonsense, you are very handsome and sunny like this. Really, really. Kira couldn't believe it, listening to brother Lucas's words, choked up. Really. Dellinger, who came quickly, pointed to his mouth, who dares to say no, I will kill him. Quote. Lucas knocked on Dellinger's forehead with a fist. You kid, you know how to bite as soon as Tenten is special. Advertisement. Exercise hard every day, and one day when you exercise stronger, no one of them dare to make fun of you anymore. Kira nodded quickly, he believed this sentence, after all, Big Brother Lucas is a ready-made example of training to become a strong man. The children were sent away, Monet ended the training, Lucas and Monet walked to the orphanage together. Halfway through, I met Zon Momomaru, who was resting today, and Lucas chatted with him. Zon Taomaru looked at this welfare home, which was larger than before, and looked at Lucas in surprise. I have to say that Lucas is really rich. Just one trip out of the sea brought back a huge amount of wealth. Zon Taomaru regrets that he often invited him to dinner before. In the evening, after having invited Zon Momomaru to dinner, Lucas walked on the way home. Luffy glanced at the restaurant behind him reluctantly, and walked at the back with the big drumstick in his mouth. Sanji couldn't laugh or cry and pulled him home. Sanji promised to prepare more food for the next meal, which brought back the soul of the foodie. It's so cute. With red hearts in the eyes of the little girls waiting for Sugar, they were attracted by the cute little Chopper. Brother Lucas, you can give us Chopper tonight. Sugar laughed. Sleeping with such a cute little thing, the quality of sleep is not good. Besides, Lucas has a woman holding him, so why bother holding a small one? Chopper, would you like it? Lucas smiled, scratching Chopper's small arm. No. Chopper hurriedly retracted into Lucas's clothes, covering his head, not daring to look at the stranger. In his opinion, only staying not far from Lucas' brother is the most reassuring for him. Kawaii. Baby 5 felt that his heart was about to melt, and they wanted to touch the little guy even more like Chopper. Lucas took Chopper and the boys back to his home, while Monet took the little girls back to their home. Chopper sat in the courtyard, watching a ferocious uncle not far away drunk, shrinking into Lucas's clothes. Chapter 241,239. Don't panic, Robin Sauce, I'm not a good person. Advertisement. Sanji glanced at Chopper thoughtfully, remembering the eyes of the many heroic women on the roadside during the day when Marine looked at Chopper. Suddenly clapped his hands, he wanted to understand. Having such a cute thing around is also a great way to tease girls. Sanji hurriedly ran into the kitchen, made some supper, and arranged his newly developed drink, and placed it in front of Lucas and Chopper. Brother Lucas, and the cute Chopper. This is the supper and drink I specially prepared for you. Please enjoy it. After Sanji finished speaking, he sat across from him and looked at Chopper. Lucas put the drink in front of Chopper. Chopper opened his mouth and sucked the drink. When the drink entered his mouth, he looked at Sanji in surprise. Drink it well. Chopper took a sip of the drink, then another sip of the supper, making a pleasant sound. At this time, Luffy and others looked at Sanji angrily, why didn't they have supper and drinks? Several people in Sanji looked at the cute look of Chopper eating, all of them felt. What a peculiar. The old man's girlish heart. Kawaii. Quote. Chopper tilted his head and looked at this group of idiots, humans behaving in confusion. Time passed in a hurry, and a year's time was fleeting. Lucas has trained a very strong subordinate through Thunder Fruit. He became the new admiral this year. This year, it is said that the CP organization paid more attention to dealing with the Revolutionary Army. At the beginning of 1517, the world government still did not give up on Pluton. They wanted to obtain Pluton design drawings. As a result, many CP9 members, headed by Rob Lucci, were sent to the city of Seven Waters, and they were allowed to work as boat craftsmen under the Integrated Shipbuilding Company of Iceberg. And this year, not far from the entrance of the Grand Line, Twin Capes. Crocus lay leisurely on the recliner by the shore, sipped a drink, glanced at Laboon, who was calm on the side, and breathed a sigh of relief. Shaking the newspaper in his hand, opened it and read it. Advertisement. Not far away, at the upside-down mountain canal, a pirate boat went down the river, and a group of pirates cheered excitedly. They experienced a lot of difficulties and finally came to Grand Line, the place they had dreamed of for many years. The pirate boat docked towards Gemini. One by one, the pirates came to the shore and asked Crocus about the situation. At this time, unlike the group of noisy pirates, a handsome, male, pirate sat in the corner, staring at the sea in a daze. She is Robin, who was framed by the world government at a young age and said he was a very sinful person. Over the years, she has been running around constantly, relying on her wealth of knowledge to bring a lot of help to the pirates, and she has been on many pirate boats. But no matter which time, she was driven away by the pirate soon, or the pirate wanted to catch her and give it to Marine. Working for some ordinary people, mixing some food and a room where you can sleep peacefully is equally difficult. After a period of time, we must continue to escape. Robin has gone through too many hardships. Most of the time, it is not that she wants to take the initiative to escape, but the guys who have said that they are her companions will exchange her for money and life after a period of time. Over time, I have experienced too much and suffered too much. She finally managed to learn to disguise herself as a man, but the captain has been paying attention to her recently. She estimated that her identity had been discovered again, and she would continue to run away soon. After some time, their ship finally arrived in the country of Alabasta. The pirates walked on the streets of the small town of La Harona, looking at the exotic beauties of the desert country, blowing their whistles in excitement one by one. One by one, the pirates swallowed their saliva and looked at these beauties squintingly. It's so beautiful. Yeah, this is much more exciting than looking at that little white face. The pirates looked at the beauty who walked by, and looked at the two lumps behind that leapt together, and laughed wretchedly. Where did the others go? The captain looked around, only then did he realize that his companion had been lost. Hurry up and find him. The pirate captain waved and shouted, his expression full of impatientness. A few days ago, he saw that this companion was wrong, not only his appearance, but his temperament was not like a man. After his careful observation, he found that this little white-faced companion of his was not a scorpion at all, that was a woman. And she is still a beautiful beauty. Advertisement. The captain of the pirate became ill-tempered and wanted to take advantage of this to do something to her, but this guy got lost. Wrong. The captain of the pirate squeezed his fist, where he was missing. The woman clearly noticed his unkind intentions and ran away ahead of time. Go away. The captain of the pirate kicked a passerby who was in the way and hurriedly ran behind him. Stop. There was a cold voice, and the captain of the pirate swung his knife quickly. With a bang, the two long knives hit each other, and he quickly backed away. Gaka, who was transformed into a jackal, knocked the pirate back with a single knife. The guards behind him hurriedly helped the civilian to check his injuries. Dare to commit brutality and hurt people in Alabasta, don't want to leave. Gaka stared at the pirate, and the guards behind him quickly surrounded some of the pirates. Some other pirates have already left and are chasing Robin. Who do you think you are? The pirate captain disdainfully rushed up with his knife. However, in the face of Gaka's fierce attack, the captain of the pirate had no power to fight back at all. Robin changed into a desert country-style dress in a local clothes shop, wrapped it in a scarf, bought a bottle of local famous perfume and sprayed it on the way. Standing in front of the stall, she was picking things with her back facing the pirates searching for people. One by one, the pirates looked at the women wearing scarves on the street, angrily pulled out the knives, grabbed a woman and lifted the scarves. Robin's face changed drastically, and she was very anxious. She was afraid that she would not be able to run away from those people, but she had nowhere to hide. On the street, a tall man with a long knife slung around his waist, with a small blue-nosed reindeer sitting on his shoulder, walked on the street and came to Robin's side. Golden apples and silver apples, which one is better? Lucas asked Robin with a smile, pointing to the fakes on the stall. Quote. Robin looked up. His face was shocked. This is Marine Admiral. Just about to run away in a panic, Lucas put his hand on her shoulder and whispered, don't panic. Robin's body was shaking constantly, and a pirate came over, just about to reach out and pull Robin's shoulder. Lucas glanced back at the guy, and with a pop, the pirate was scared to sit on the ground and scrambled away. What's more, the pirate searched people and found it next to Marine Admiral. I was so impatient to live. The guy ran all the way, pointing tremblingly behind him, and tremblingly shouting, "Da, Admiral." Chapter 242,240. Ace goes to sea. Please subscribe. Ask for monthly pass. Advertisement. Crackling. At night, in front of a ruined fire in the Alabasta field, a man and a woman sat. Robin sat opposite Lucas, looking at the man in fear. The other party took out a piece of paper and asked her for some ancient words. Hey, Robin looked at this guy puzzledly. The other party didn't ask anything too profound, just. I learned how to write a sentence. I am the same, in ancient characters. By the way, I asked what some scattered ancient characters mean. It seems that there is no connection. Ah, this. Robin laughed helplessly. What a weird guy. The night passed quickly, and Lucas left here. He did not choose to take Robin away. If Robin was taken away, it would have harmed her. He chose to leave Robin with a note on how to learn hockey, and how he should go in the future. It's up to her own. Although Robin won't run into Lao Sha anymore, Luffy won't meet her anymore. The future is destined to be difficult. The sun slowly rises from the horizon in the distance of the desert, illuminating the desert, and Robin looks at the note under the stone. Then he sat on the sand and hugged his knees and looked at the morning view of the desert. For some reason, the man did not respond to her, and relatively speaking, he helped her. It's a pity that such a good man is a Marine, and he cannot be a companion who can protect her, by nature. Robin wrote down the contents of the note, then tore off the paper, put away the backpack, and moved on. The original trajectory was that in 1518, she would join the Baroque workshop and become Crocodile's partner, codenamed Miss Sunday. But Lao Sha was killed by Lucas a long time ago, so. Robin constantly went to various countries in the first half of the Grand Line aimlessly. She has read a lot about the historical text, but she is often hunted down by Marine. Not all the pirates had the guts to accept her, and she was tired of that life, and began to earnestly learn what Lucas left her. In 1519, a man named Portgas de Ace went to sea. It is also interesting to say that Ace and his crew, Deus, came to an island and got a devil fruit. The two boys first did one thing, tried a bug, and failed miserably. They were half devil fruit, and they ate devil fruit together. Advertisement. Ace got the ability of Mara Mara fruit, and Deus got the sanction from the taste. Other than that, only the harvest of friendship was left. The news that Ace went to sea reached the Marine headquarters. At this time, some people had already thought of how to invite Ace into Shichibukai. Sengoku looked at the people in front of him, and most of them had no opinion about Ace joining Shichibukai. Lucas was sitting not far away, eating senbei. Ace. Lucas nodded. Actually, he wanted to punch this kid. Picking up a newspaper, Lucas looked at it. Ace is closer to Sabayati Archipelago. Recently, the pirates of Sabayati Archipelago have gotten bad. Most of the pirates were attacked by Lucas' troops just as they were about to head to the Fishman Island. Lucas used this as a recruiting training ground. Many freshly baked pirates were packaged by him and given to his subordinates for sparring. Above the sea, a warship came slowly. Lucas stood at the bow of the warship, nodding slightly as he watched the pirate ship sunk by the recruits, artillery not far away. And on his shoulders, Chopper sat cutely and well-behaved, holding a book as thick as several bricks in his hands, watching slowly. After a long time, the warship returned to Marineford, Lucas all the way back to his office. Chopper barely finished reading today's learning content, put a bookmark in the thick book, and closed the book. Brother Sanji should be able to board the boat. Chopper looked at Lucas obediently, with expectation in his eyes. Sanji's food is so delicious. No, he's only 16 years old, next year. Lucas shook his head, feeling no good. Quote. Monet, who just walked in, looked at this guy speechlessly, saying, "How old were you to officially go to sea to deal with the pirates?" Some people, in the end, always live what he hates most. For the cubs he picked up personally, Lucas watched them grow up, and he usually protects the cubs. I remember a kid who bullied Kira before, and Lucas beat a certain colonel when he turned around. When the colonel came home, he spanked the little boy. At the same time, Sanji, who has been exercising for many years, sits at the door, holding a newspaper in his hand, looking at the ace reported on it. He is 16 this year, not long since he was 17. He thinks that he should be able to go out to sea with big brother Lucas. He really wants to fight with this ace to see who is the best one. Not far away, Lucas came over. Advertisement. Sanji said his thoughts, but got Lucas's S, I don't think so. Monet couldn't help but ask how old he was when he went to sea to deal with pirates. 17. 17. Monet looked at Lucas's back and smiled coldly. This B********** D used to brag, saying that he went to sea when he was 16 so that he could have such a strong ability to deal with the pirates. Sure enough, the man's mouth. At the same time, Marineford Garp's residence. Luffy clasped his feet, sitting in the yard, looking at Grandpa. Somehow he didn't understand why Grandpa was so worried. He was brought up by brother Lucas, so Grandpa is supposed to have nothing to worry about. Very skinny Luffy, who often causes a lot of troubles for Lucas before confronting. Garp glanced at Luffy. He knew that he should have wanted to have someone else and forced Ace away. The news that the world government invited Ace to join 7 warlords of the sea soon passed into New World. Somewhere in New World, aboard the Moby DK, Whitebeard sat on the deck, 2 rows of his sons. By his side was Marco, who could not help him. The female nurses behind him could not persuade him. Whitebeard picked up the wine gourd in one hand and drank happily. Taking the newspaper from Marco, Whitebeard read it. Looking at the pirate named Ace in the newspaper, Whitebeard looked serious. I always feel that this kid looks a lot like a person. It's so familiar. Whitebeard suddenly thought of Roger. His memory seems to go back to many years ago, when Roger was still drinking with him, because he borrowed Odin, he was very angry, and the nearby sea was shaken by the blow. At that time Roger was still alive, he was still at the top. The more Whitebeard looked at Ace, the more he felt that he looked like Roger. A few months later, on the shore of Sabayati Archipelago. A pirate boat docked on the shore. Ace jumped off the boat directly, looked at the scenery in front of him, shouted "Dus" and ran out. Chapter 243,241. Chopper stepped back and let me pretend. Advertisement. A Murloc, Marine, floated up from the sea, looked at Ace and others who were running away, sneered, contacted Lucas instead, and disappeared. Hey, look at Duo C, the bubble car is so convenient, let's buy one. Ace pointed to the bubble car in the rental store. A bubble car made of bubbles, something unique to Sabayati Archipelago, is being sold there. Idiot. Duos hurriedly pulled Ace away. He had learned about Sabayati Archipelago before he came. Understand that as long as this kind of car leaves the climate range of Sabayati Archipelago, bubbles will explode. Ace was finally taken away by force. Although Sabayati Archipelago also has Marine stationed there, the one who really deterred the pirates was Marine in Marineford not far away. Especially a guy named Lucas, who brought recruits over to train for a training. This B********* D simply regarded the pirate as a mob for training soldiers and repeatedly humiliated him. Ace and the others walked into a restaurant, ate and drank wine. Seeing the pirates hurrying on the street, Ace couldn't understand why these guys are more anxious to go to New World than him. Seeing so many passionate pirates, thinking that they will meet in New World soon, Ace is very happy. However, after Deuce, questioning, he knew that this was not the case. Don't you know, there is a Marine Admiral who is extremely shameless. He often brings his recruits to Sabayati Archipelago to deal with us. I advise you to run quickly before they come. It will be bad if you are beaten. The pirate said, and hurried away with someone holding a wine. As an admiral, Sabayati Archipelago shamelessly brought a large number of men to bully the pirates. This is simply shameless. Huh, Ace looked at the pirate's back, Lucas. I am a bit impressed, as if I have heard of this person somewhere. Idiot, it's the youngest Marine Admiral. Deuce said. Sauger. Ace clapped his hands, so that's it. Then this guy is still eating the meal casually, and hastened to finish the meal to have the strength to continue sailing. Not far from the Sabayati archipelago, a pirate ship had just started sailing, and suddenly a cannonball galloped from a distance, carrying cannons. Boom. The horrible explosion directly hit the pirate ship, and the pirate ship that was about to dive was directly destroyed and turned into burning wreckage, scattered on the sea. A warship sailed from a distance. A tall, muscular man stood at the bow of the ship, with a well-behaved chopper sitting on his shoulders, and rubbed Chopper's head with his hand. Advertisement. Lucas turned on the perception of color, hearing, and seeing, and found Ace. This guy. With a light wave, the Marines led by Lucas went after the other pirate ships according to their plan. Lucas is a bit too dedicated compared to Admiral, the two fishermen who can get a good night's sleep wherever he goes and can be full of acting skills wherever he goes. He even did the job of taking recruits out to sea every few times and training soldiers with pirates. For this reason, Kuzan and Pelusolino can only say that it is good to be young, and their hearts are still full of the original goals, not lost. Lucas stepped onto the land of the Sabayati archipelago and walked towards the location of Ace. This B************** D. Admiral will still be so calm in the future, where is Admiral's face? Rubbing Chopper's head, Lucas looked at Ace in the restaurant not far away. Lucas walked to a restaurant and sat outside. Ace had just eaten and walked out of the restaurant with his companions, and was surprised by a big surprise. Although Ace would like to say something about fighting, but the safety of his companions is more important, so he punched it out and let his companions go first. Quote. Lucas disappeared in an instant, appeared in front of Ace, kicked Ace out. Diaz directly pulled Ace up, turned around and ran away. Admiral's strength is not comparable to them. Lucas appeared in front of Ace and the others instantly, stopped a few people, and didn't speak yet. It's dizzy. Chopper grabbed Lucas's clothes vigorously. He felt like a kite. He was dragged along behind Lucas and almost couldn't hold it. Fly. Chopper slammed to the ground, swaying dazedly, almost falling. Run. Although Duos watched the adorable Chopper for a while, he still grabbed Ace, turned and ran. Lucas appeared in front of them again. Deuce continued to pull Ace, leading the pirates to turn around and flee again. Looking at the little reindeer not far away, he didn't care at all. The moment Duos rushed to Chopper's side, Chopper instantly grew bigger and turned into a macho Chopper. Directly beat Diaz out. This. Duos fell to the ground and looked at the little reindeer in shock. Ace looked at Chopper in surprise. In fact, he really wanted to invite such a guy to be his partner. Advertisement. But let's run first. Fire punch. Ace turned his arm into an ultra-high temperature flame, and stretched his arm to hit Chopper with a punch of flame. Chopper evaded quickly, looking at this guy in shock. So strong. Chopper stepped back. Lucas glared at Chopper. He is seldom aggressive towards Chopper, mainly because he doesn't want Chopper to join the battle so early. Understood. Chopper reluctantly changed his figure back to a small one, retreating to the distance to watch the battle. Ace and Diaz didn't say a word, and they had to run from Chopper's direction with their companions. Lucas appeared in front of several people again, holding one in one hand, and threw the two directly out. Then kicked Ace and Duos' companions one by one. Damn it, that's another trick. Ace stood up quickly and looked at Lucas. He has seen Shave in 6 styles. Not long ago, a member of the world government came to invite him to join Shichibukai. As a result, he directly refused, and the two sides fought. Ace still defeated the opponent successfully. But this trick of Lucas is definitely not a shave. Because it's so much faster than shaving. If one is moving at high speed, then the other is teleporting. It was too fast, far beyond their response. As soon as Ace stood up, without the ability to activate, he received a punch in the stomach, and his whole body flew upside down in an instant. As soon as he fell to the ground, Deuce hit him. Ace was smashed to the ground just as he was about to stand up. The pirates stood up one after another and looked at the man warily with their weapons. Too strong, facing each other, they are simply being abused. Damn it, refuse Shichibukai's invitation, are you going to kill us in anger? Deuce looked at Lucas angrily and shouted. You think too much. Lucas simply wanted to punch Ace. Is this your ability? It's too exaggerated. Ace stood up. Chapter 244,242. Cavendish was slammed. For subscription. For monthly pass. For reward. Advertisement. Garp had just arrived at Sabayati Archipelago and saw Lucas playing Ace. Lucas had a good time playing, and finally gave Ace and the others a chance to run. Ace and others ran without looking back, without any hesitation. Garp secretly breathed a sigh of relief, who had arrived far away, and Lucas looked back at him thoughtfully. Quote. This kid, can you see anything? Lucas picked up Chopper on the side, put him on his shoulders, and turned to leave. And his subordinates, chasing Ace. Lucas's purely evil taste has risen, and he is only practicing with Ace. Ace is still useful, he won't just grab him like that. A few days later, Lucas took Chopper, boarded the warship, and left Marineford. The warship sailed for a while and stopped on a small island. In the afternoon, Lucas and his men came to a restaurant and drank and listened to the chats of local people not far away. The country on this island is called Rommel, and in this country, it is said that once night falls, there will be a murderer called Rommel's Scythe. His killing was simply an instant kill, and the speed was like a gust of wind, which was also the origin of the title. Even the marine who came to support was not against the opponent. Most of the people killed by Rommel's Scythe were celebrities and rich people who had money to come out late at night for fun. Lucas took a sip of wine and continued to listen to the explanation of people not far away. At this time, several beautiful women walked into the door of the restaurant, and they were talking about a beautiful and inextricably beautiful man who fascinated them. Cavendish. Stringed up. Lucas glanced at the beauties. In fact, Cavendish, the beautiful man whom Rommel women was obsessed with, was the murderer at night. In fact, it's reasonable to say that Cavendish is to blame, and it is reasonable to say that it is not to blame. It's his inner personality that kills people. What about Cavendish? However, Cavendish enjoyed the reputation brought about by Lee's personality killing, and did not take measures to restrict himself, but let Lee's personality kill. To be honest, this guy is not a good bird. He can only say that he has been unable to change the reasoning. Sangwon follows the five senses. I am handsome and reasonable. Speaking of Cavendish, it is said that he was more popular when he was in the kingdom of Prajoa. Advertisement. At that time, Cavendish was liked by women all over the country. For him, women all over the country were unwilling to marry, and the kingdom had no choice but to exile him. The leeks do not want to give birth to cubs, and the king will not open the forest. Kiki, let's get back to the subject. Not long after Lucas came to this island, the base commander of Marine Base on this island hurried over and asked him for help with a worried look. The previous head of the base was killed by that lunatic shortly after he went to support him. The head of the base clenched his fist, and he could not beat Rommel's Scythe. He was a small sea soldier once under Lucas, but now he has become stronger, even serving as the base commander of a branch. What is the use of the old boss? There are too many benefits, such as now. He couldn't beat the murderer, so he could just ask the old boss to defeat that guy. Okay, wait until I finish this meal. Lucas nodded and continued to sit in his place, eating food and drinking wine. Now his old subordinates are quite a lot among Marine. If even the weak and strong are counted, then he can't count them. Chopper sat leisurely on the elevated seat, eating some delicious food, and glanced at the hurried head of the base. He didn't realize that Rommel's Scythe was faster than Lucas. Don't panic at all. It was getting late, and the night fell. As the time got late, Lucas continued to drink, watching the night view outside, and there were fewer and fewer pedestrians. The level of science and technology in this country is not developed, but there are still many wealthy people who come out at night to have fun. I have to say that if this is changed to the technological level of the previous life, wouldn't it be that the streets are full of people at night, and Cavendish's personality will directly lead to a massacre? Let's go to see the happiness of the evening, haha. Lucas picked up Chopper and rubbed his pillow. Hey, didn't it deal with Rommel's Scythe Itachi? The base commander looked at him puzzled. Quote. The colonels following Lucas glanced at the guy speechlessly. As an old man who used to follow Lucas Admiral, didn't he even understand Lucas's evil taste? The happiness at night does not mean the woman on the bed. To put it bluntly, go out to beat people at night. Hit the so-called Rommel's sickle. Advertisement. Call out. A shadow shuttled through the streets. He glanced at a few people walking on the street, and showed a strange smile. A tall man in a suit had a long knife slung around his waist, and the long knife kept swinging as he walked, while he was holding a bottle of wine in his hand. Cavendish rushed out directly and hit Lucas fiercely. However, what he didn't expect was that this guy was too fast. Before he rushed over, he grabbed his collar with one hand, avoided his attack, and slammed him against the wall fiercely. Boom. Cavendish's personality was dumbfounded, because the bottle in this guy's hand was stuffed directly into his mouth. Happiness. Lucas directly slapped Cavendish's face a few times. Just as Cavendish's personality was about to resist, Lucas reached out and grabbed his weapon, took the weapon directly and put it on his neck. Cavendish's personality is obviously not afraid of life and death threats. He smiled evilly at Lucas, and then he was dumbfounded. Lucas threw Cavendish's durandal away and inserted it directly into the wall behind him. Then he pressed Cavendish and hit his face with an output. Bang bang bang. Cavendish's personality rebelled, and Lucas pressed him and went straight to his feet. Cavendish's personality tried to resist again. Lucas directly turned on the brutal mode, slap after slap on Cavendish's face. The base commander not far away recognized Cavendish for the first time when he saw him. It's him. It turns out that this is the real face of the beautiful men whom women are obsessed with. Those colonels, look at me and I will look at you. Do women of today's age like this kind of evil laughing guy? Lucas slapped Cavendish's face with slap after slap. There was no chance of resistance at all in his personality, and he could only make a cry of pain. After a while, Cavendish's inner personality was directly frightened, and he called Cavendish bank out. Cavendish was sleeping soundly, and suddenly realized that his face was hurting, and a man who was only slightly less handsome than his was clutching him. Oops, does his handsome face guys want to do something to him? Chapter 245,243. The Real Monster Sword. Advertisement. Cavendish was about to resist, and another slap in the face woke him up from his narcissism. He looked at the weapon stuck on the wall not far away. It was obvious that his personality hadn't beaten the man in front of him. Cavendish kept trying to put himself to sleep and awaken Lee's personality, but what the hell was the fierce resistance coming from deep in his heart? The personality of Lee was beaten by this devil and didn't dare to come out. Cavendish racked his brains, and faced the youngest admiral. What could he do to save his life? 1. Continue to try to awaken Lee's personality and try again, but it is very likely to be arrested. 2nd. Revisited, on the spot and re-behaved, trying to forgive him by the boss, but the chances are not high. After all, this is the iron-blooded faction in Marine. 3. Call your own female fans and ask NC fans to help him stop this damn it guy. Although the appearance is justice, it feels unreliable. 4th. Pretend to be dizzy, and then take the opportunity to slip away. It's so shameless. Cavendish is of course fainted. However, Lucas did not let go. This FK is embarrassing. Lucas T kept Cavendish and sent him back to Marine base. Next, facing Cavendish will be a dark life. Lucas's ship left the kingdom of Rommel early the next day. They did not continue to stay. Cavendish did not stop his pace. Under the escort of Marine and the instructions of the Marine Scientific Unit, he was sent to Punk Hazard by the Marine branch to undergo human experiments. Cavendish is not innocent. He is so mixed up as a murderer with a reputation, and it's okay if no one can catch it. Caught it can only say it deserves it. Seeing Admiral, they all rushed out to kill people, only to say that Lucas didn't dare to be more courageous than him. Soon after, Cavendish woke up in a laboratory in Punk Hazard. He looked at the iron chain that bound his limbs, and glared angrily at the wretched smiling guy in front of him. This should not be the case for the rest of his life. He should be greeted by the cheers of beautiful women and a lot of flowers. Rather than iron chains and railings, this style of painting is not suitable for him. Hey giggle, Guy smiled and looked at the guy in front of him. In fact, now he has discovered a very bad thing, that is, he has been monitored by Marine. Even when he secretly developed weapons of mass destruction recently, he felt a secret line of sight watching him. Advertisement. A sense of crisis arose in Guy Saw's heart. According to the original idea, this is nothing. But the point is that among those who monitor him, whether it is a researcher or Marine, they are all Lucas people. Among Punk Hazard station personnel, 2 old men of Lucas recently came. One is Ah Jin, and the other is the new Thunder Fruit capable person elected at the time. It wasn't Guy who slapped them. If he really caused a Punk Hazard explosion, both of them could tear him up. But this is impossible to stop Guy's enthusiasm for freedom and R&D, so he still chooses to continue his plan. Looking at the Cavendish who was sent, Guy thought of a good plan. Joint Cavendish. Wrong. Use him to create chaos, and then let yourself take the opportunity to escape. Make a deal. You give me safety, I give you freedom, how about? Guy smiled evilly. He felt that he was really handsome at this moment. Quote. Cavendish hesitated for a long time, and finally reluctantly chose to cooperate. But sisters like handsome men who laugh wickedly, rather than people who are crooked and cracked. Guy, you seem to have a little misunderstanding about this convenience. Outside Guy's laboratory, a dark shadow broke away from the wall and quickly disappeared. Aska Island. A warship docked on the shore. Lucas and his men came to a restaurant on the island. I have to say that the restaurant is really a good place. Here, Lucas heard a legend again. Sitting at the window, Lucas gnawed meat, drank wine, and listened to the conversations of drinkers not far away. Do you know that in the distant past, there is a legend circulating on our beautiful Aska Island? Thousands of years ago, the islanders were very afraid of the appearance of the red full moon. In order to eliminate panic, the gods gave the king a shield and a 7-star sword on the island. However, when the 7-star sword and the red full moon appear at the same time, darkness will dominate the entire earth. Oh, it's not right. Another uncle waved his hand. Your version is not reliable, it is actually like this. Advertisement. The princes of this island country fell in love with a woman at the same time. In order to compete for that woman, they picked up the 7-star sword and started a battle. Obviously, old stories from a long, long time ago did not attract people, and the love-hate relationship between a few men and a woman would be a selling point. Although it is still very old, people still like it. Lucas slurped the little wine and listened to the story while holding back a smile. To be honest, there are too many slots. In the first version, the god gave the king a shield and a 7-star sword, but when the 7-star sword and the red moon appeared together, darkness would fall, so the god gave a loneliness. In the second version, the princes picked up the 7-star sword for a lady and started fighting. Then, would the 7-star sword in the ruins be able to shadow clone technique? After listening to the legend, after drinking Lucas, he took the people to the dojo of Marine base on this island. He did not find a Marine named Sokka in Marine's list. So now should not be the period after Sokka arrives. Lucas took people to the dojo and met the Marine base leader here. This is a guy who is not very good at strength. After the test of Lucas's subordinates, he learned that the opponent's strength is not very good. Lucas contacted the headquarters and asked a more competent base commander to be sent from above, and the guy was withdrawn directly. Sometimes, just having a righteous heart does not mean that you can afford the corresponding responsibilities. Strength is the capital to speak. Lucas left the base without further instructions. All the way, led by a girl named Maya, came to her village. Welcome to you, Lucas Admiral. An old man walked out. Soon after, Lucas was sitting in the old man's house, and Maya brought tea and placed it in front of him. Thank you, Lucas said, then looked at the old man. Can you tell me the legend of this island? The old man nodded, and slowly told the legend she had in mind. The difference is not too big, this is a legend that rubs the two versions together. Lucas listened for a long time, but did not hear the real reason for the seven-star sword. I heard, lonely. In the original work, the seven-star sword is extremely powerful. It can be said that the evil spirit of this sword is not comparable to the ghosts of third generation. Chapter 246,244. Seven-star sword. Broken. For subscription. For monthly pass. For reward. Advertisement. Leaving the village, Lucas returned to his warship and looked at the direction of the ruin. I remember that in the original work, Sokka just touched the seven-star sword once, and the whole person's mind was controlled. Do things according to the purpose of the seven-star sword, and the Marines under Sokka are also controlled by his seven-star sword. Although there was a kid who remained awake, the evil spirit of the seven-star sword was beyond doubt. And the power of the seven-star sword is also powerful, allowing Sokka to directly incarnate the strong, sling the people in the Straw Hat group. When night fell, Lucas walked out of the warship, seeing and hearing the color opening to perceive the situation on the island, and one person came to a ruin on the island. The night is deep, and the walkway of the ruins is a bit gloomy. Lucas came inside, opened the stone slab, and looked at the seven-star sword lying quietly in the sarcophagus. There was a bang, thunder blasted, and the gloomy internal space flickered. Lucas stood in front of the seven-star sword and looked at the sword curiously. Being able to control people's hearts, to be honest, this can be regarded as a legend among evil weapons. He believed in such a terrible thing, no matter what the mysterious background. As for the ending of the original work, there was an idealistic sentence: it is the human heart that turns the seven-star sword into a demon sword. Such words would never believe him. Maybe the seven-star sword could really attack mentally. A weird scene appeared. The seven-star sword was as if it had discovered Lucas, and a bright demon green appeared on the body of the sword, touching the heart. This seven-star sword really had a big problem. Lucas did not reach out to touch it mortally. Even according to idealism, people have desires in their hearts, and some people love money, power, fame, and wealth, and Lucas is no exception. He desperately needs to become stronger continuously until he can have enough power. These templates are in the theater of idealism. Blacken is bewitched every minute. The seven-star sword seemed to be able to see his strength, and it flashed again eagerly several times, and at the same time a faint spirit energy radiated out, trying to confuse Lucas to accept it. Kang. Lucas drew the long knife, and the seven-star sword no longer flashed. Outside the ruins, it was raining heavily, cold wind blowing in from outside, a thunder light lit up, and a long knife was raised inside the ruins. Lucas didn't ascertain the origin of the seven-star sword, and he didn't want to continue exploring. Just destroy this sword directly. Advertisement. There was a clear metal clash, and Lucas looked at the seven-star sword in shock. He didn't even break the seven-star sword with a single blow just now. Armed color covered the blade, directly used the amplification ability on himself, and fell sharply. There was a loud metal sound, and Lucas smashed the seven-star sword with a single blow. The seven-star sword turned into two halves, and the upper and lower halves of the sword body kept flashing weird green lights, and then Lucas made two more swords, directly smashing the seven-star sword into four segments. The seven-star sword completely lost its ability to struggle, and the power of evil spirits within it dissipated. Then, Lucas left here directly and disappeared into the night. Da da da. Amidst the ruins, there was a sound of anxious footsteps. An old man with a cane walked in, and the villagers who followed her to protect her quickly put away the umbrella. The old man walked to the ruined house where the seven-star sword was stored, and looked at the wide-open sarcophagus, anxious in his heart. This is the damn B*********** D who came here to make trouble. She just stood in front of the sarcophagus, looking at the four broken swords scattered in the sarcophagus. She was speechless. As the seven-star sword stolen, I'll gather people to search for the thief. Standing at the door, the villager realized something was wrong with the old man. No need. The seven-star sword was destroyed. The old man said, letting out a sigh of relief. At first, she came to take a look at this place, but she heard a crisp sound and felt bad in her heart. As a result, when he came over, he didn't know which great swordsman who was idle and okay helped them solve a hidden danger. Thank you so much. The old man thanked in one direction casually, and he thanked the great swordsman. It's not that their ancestors never thought of destroying the seven-star sword. It's really that people in their village really don't have that ability. The old man returned home happily. She first felt that the swordsman who could destroy the seven-star sword should be the legendary Mihawk Hawkeye. And Lucas, although the rumors from the outside world are also very strong, but when the old man chats during the day, he only feels that this is a handsome little guy who can't help but cherish. I never thought that a person with such a good temper would come out in the middle of the night to destroy him in the mood. Well, I don't know what Lucas would think about knowing the old man's brain. Early the next morning, Lucas left the island. Sitting in the bow of the ship, rubbing Chopper's body in the sea breeze, drinking wine. Advertisement. In fact, the story of the seven-star sword is not too dark, but the setting of the seven-star sword is too strong. To tell a dark story, there is nothing more than the Baron of the festival. After all, I saw the theatrical version in my previous life, and even the animation style was that kind of weird style. The story is even more bizarre. New world, an island somewhere. Ace, Duos and others were sitting on the beach, drinking fine wine. Ace is holding a newspaper in his hand and staring at Whitebeard on the newspaper. He still wanted to challenge Whitebeard. It just suddenly occurred to him that he couldn't even beat a Lucas, and when he came to Whitebeard, wouldn't he be abused by the same meal? Ace drank the drink out of the glass in one sip, lost in thought. Do you really want to continue to challenge Whitebeard? Deuce asked, and then he took Ace's shoulders. I heard that Whitebeard likes to kill his son. Quote. Ace looked at Deuce in horror, originally hesitant. Now he is determined. Well, let's talk about improving one's strength to a higher level first. Whitebeard is old and frail. Tenton hangs a bottle. He believes that his strength will continue to improve and he will be able to defeat the opponent one day. At the same time, Whitebeard was also drinking leisurely on his boat, watching his son squabbling, and he was waiting for Ace to challenge him. The result is a long wait. The city of Seven Waters. Mr. Bingshan sat in the company's office and sorted out the information. The year before last he finally integrated the shipyard in the capital of Seven Waters into one company. Basically, you can't see that all the shipmakers in the Seven Waters are fighting because of business. And his secretaries and those boat craftsmen are also very capable, they are his right-hand men. Mr. Bingshan glanced out the window. In fact, he has been vigilant about the actions of the world government all the time. He came back last year, but Mr. Bingshan did not choose to keep in touch with the other party. And Pluton's drawings are no longer on his body. Thinking of Frankie and his little brothers and sisters yesterday, the funny dancing gestures, Mr. Bingshan couldn't help but laugh. Chapter 247,245. I think this request is very reasonable. Advertisement. Not far from the shipyard, high on a bridge, a man stood at the top, wearing sunglasses, watching people proudly, and dancing his magical dance. At the same time, his eyes kept watching the shipyard. Ignoring Bingshan's excellent shipbuilders, Frankie looked at the guests at the shipyard nearby. Starting this year, he began to raise 200 million Baileys, ready to buy Baoshu Adam to build his ship. And money. Of course, I grabbed it from Bingberg's customers. Grand Line, an island somewhere. Outside a pub. A man with closed eyes and an X-shaped scar on the left side of his forehead, wearing a lavender kimono, stepping on clogs, and gently tapping the road ahead with his staff. Walking on the road with a smile, seeing and hearing color perceives a tavern in front of him, and laughs out. Stepped into the tavern, walked towards the window with a smile. Although he couldn't see it, he could clearly perceive the breath of that admiral. At the moment a smile stepped into the tavern, Lucas also noticed the existence of a smile and looked over. A smile, a fruitful person, after many years, joined Marine, Marine's code name, Fujitora. Of course, there is also a version translation that calls him a lifetime. And Lucas smiled once before. Before their warship passed by an island and happened to be invaded by pirates, he directly ordered an attack on those pirates. And the smile that happened to be drinking on that island also dealt with the pirate once. The two have met since then. It's a pity, I laughed and met him too late, otherwise I really want to introduce, maybe now Marine San Admiral will be missing a salted fish. Sitting opposite Lucas with a smile, he was also a little moved about joining Marine. Although he has been wandering around at sea for a long time, he will clean up when he sees evil pirates. Has maintained a free body. But what Lucas Admiral has always done is really worthy of Marine's justice. In his view, the other party paid for the construction of hospitals and welfare homes, provided free medical care for the poor, and took care of an education for street children everywhere. If even such a person was not justified, he would still be worthy of the righteous person he can trust that day. There are really few. He had been thinking about it the last time the two separated. Advertisement. And this time, Lucas once again spoke out the invitation. A smile readily agreed. Lucas was so excited, he quickly drank with a smile. From then on, Marine's Vice Admiral will have one more Vice Admiral of Tentenai Chisoba. The point is that the opponent opposes the Shichibukai system just like Lucas. It's really useful to have a good relationship with a powerful person like Yishao. Hey, have you heard that a plague broke out on an island in South Blue, and everyone on the island died? It is said to be marine seal. Hush, don't die. In the distance, two men talking about the topic carefully glanced at the seats by the window, and hurriedly finished their meal and left. Lucas glanced at them, and reluctantly dropped the newspaper on the table. Faced with such a terrible thing as the plague, his doctors also felt a bit tricky. Although there are some black technologies in the One Piece world, doctors more or less also have some medical skills like black technologies. But his doctors told him that they are indeed capable of researching something to deal with the virus, but the time they developed it, the infected group of people died long ago. The world government, for such things, also has an attitude of killing if you can kill. Lucas touched Chopper's head and rubbed it vigorously. Hurry up and grow up, Chopper, his doctors are waiting for him to lead him. This time Lucas decided to take Chopper to South Blue. Although Chopper doesn't need the gift he prepared for him now, Lucas thinks it is better to bring it in advance. I'll go with you, said Lucas with a smile. All right, Lucas nodded, stood up, and walked out of the tavern. Although Yishao agreed to join Marine, he still went to South Blue with Lucas. Sitting on the deck, with a smile holding a bowl of soba noodles in his hand, he gently blew the soup and ate the noodles. Do you like noodles? Chopper asked with a smile. Yeah, with a kind smile, he gently stroked Chopper's head. Chopper felt warm inexplicably. Although Mr. Smile couldn't see anything, he was still very warm. Brother Lucas also likes noodles, especially with fish. Brother Sanji Tenten makes delicious noodles for Brother Lucas. When we arrive at Marineford, let's ask you to eat noodles. Advertisement. Then I really have a blessing. He smiled slightly and nodded. A few days later, South Blue, Kingdom of Torino, on the shore. The people living here have always had an irreconcilable contradiction with the giant birds on the tree. Although many years ago, a marine named Monet discovered the misunderstanding between people and the giant bird. But unfortunately, people need herbs from trees. But the giant bird misunderstood and kept attacking people. No matter how Monet persuaded, it was useless, but she didn't want to kill those giant birds directly. The giant bird couldn't understand people's words, and the misunderstanding on this island could not be resolved. When Monet was there, she would help people pick some herbs. Lucas looked at the island and patted Chopper. It's time for your role as a kid. With a smile, he sensed what was happening on the island, and he knew what Lucas said. A group of people came to the island, walked in the dense forest, and marched towards the habitat of the birds. It's just that an interesting scene happened. The people on those islands saw the marine capes worn by Lucas and others, and instantly saw the savior, and rushed to greet them. One by one, it was the same as having met relatives. Don't worry, you speak slowly. A marine who followed Lucas comforted these people. Master Marine, please help us. The people at Marine Base don't dare to get close to the ferocious giant birds, and we haven't picked any herbs for a long time. A fat man said bitterly. As soon as Chopper was about to speak, Lucas covered his mouth. We are here for this. Hearing these words, people became excited and looked at Lucas eagerly one by one. Monet had helped them before, but only got the right to read their medical books for a short time. This country has a huge amount of medical books. It can be said that even Chopper after he grows up can't learn the medical skills in the books here in a short time. Lucas came for this. We can help you solve problems forever, but the key is, are you willing to let us get a copy of all of your books? Lucas looked at these people with a smile. Chapter 248,246. Chopper who plucked up the courage. For subscription. For reward. For monthly pass. Advertisement. This is of course no problem. As long as you can completely help us solve the trouble, we are willing to copy out the second copy of all the books to you. At this time, the crowd dispersed a road, and an old man walked over and looked at Lucas and said. It seems that as long as the strength is strong enough, it is still easy to talk. Lucas nodded in satisfaction, and returned to their place of residence with the locals. The masters of the people on this island have a lot of medical books, and they use good weapons when they fight with the birds on the trees, but to be honest, why do they wear more savages than Shandia? If you look at it from the sea, the most magnificent tree in the kingdom of Torino is the towering tree. There lived a giant bird that these people couldn't beat. At night, in front of the bonfire, Lucas communicated with the elders of these people. And Chopper sat next to him, curiously watching those fat uncles wearing straw skirts and barefoot walking around the fire, each holding forks and spoons holding the ingredients on the plates, and dancing strange dances. Hearing the sound of drooling not far away, Chopper turned around and looked at a fat uncle sitting behind him. The fat uncle looked at him greedily. Such a cute civet cat, it's a pity not to make a civet cat hot pot. Quote exclamation mark quote. Quote question mark quote. The chubby uncles looked at this companion, saying, does this guy really have a brain? Lucas asked Chopper to squeeze him and glanced at the guy warily. Knock, Chopper is so cute, you want to eat it, can you hear it? The elders of these people have shown nuclear good smiles to the younger generation. The boy smashed, what is left in your mind besides the broth? ... Lucas discussed with these people and got some information. He directly rejected the method proposed by these people to kill the giant birds directly. With the Chopper brand translator, many things are much easier to solve. Looking up at the towering tree in the distance, Lucas continued to drink. Early the next morning, Lucas took Chopper to the residence of these people. I originally planned to bring people and Chopper up the tree together to discuss with the giant birds and solve the trouble. But Lucas picked it up and discovered that none of these people were skinny. It's ridiculous, you know. A group of you are beaten by giant birds every 3 to 5, and the quality of life in a small day can still be so good. It is guaranteed that everyone will eat for nothing. Lucas said he was disgusted and didn't want to take them up the tree. Advertisement. After all, the towering tree is too high, so he should rest in their residence. Wait for the giant bird to come and hang these people before coming out to reconcile. Why find someone to lead those guys over, just kill and stew it into soup, a chubby suggested. Eat, no to eat. Lucas gave the guy a helpless look, and now he finally knows why these guys are so fat. I thought of eating after a while. Lucas sat on the lawn, holding Chopper in his arms, and Chopper carefully flipped through a book in his hand. Lucas's hands rubbed his head over and over again. Don't say, Chopper's hand feels soft, so it doesn't poke. And his subordinates left the kingdom of Torino on a warship. They went to catch the pirates. It's actually dangerous to seduce giant birds. Lucas didn't want his precious subordinates to take this risk, but let the people on these islands seduce the giant bird. It's not so good either. So he plans to let the pirates seduce the giant bird. What, not going? Give you freedom and gold, can't you go? At noon, Lucas had a hot pot meal at the local people's house. Not to mention, these guys can't do anything else. They have a hand in cooking, and they can still be full. After eating, I took Chopper out and sat on the lawn to bask in the sun. Sitting on the side quietly with a smile, looking at him. Chopper was able to communicate with animals, and he smiled and listened to him. He agrees with Lucas's method of letting Chopper communicate to resolve the misunderstanding between humans and giant birds. Thirsty, brother Lucas. Chopper pushed away Lucas's evil hand and looked up at him. Lucas nodded and put him down, and walked to the local people's home to ask for water. Chopper chuckled, and continued to look down at his book. With a smile, I am still very optimistic about the kid Chopper. At a young age, he began to learn medical skills. Chopper's talent in medicine is unquestionable. As night fell, the warship finally returned. Advertisement. The Marines escorted a group of pirates to come, and Lucas's selection, they found one to be sent to death, and then ordered him to pick herbs from the towering tree. I'm not going. The pirate slammed into it stiffly. With a sneer, he glanced at Marine who was holding him next to him. I have also heard of those birds. When I go, there is simply no life. Waste. A chubby tree sneered, stood up directly, and said to Lucas, let me go, we used to pick herbs, and we can often escape back alive. This kind of trash pirate is inferior to us. What are you talking about? The pirate was angry at the time and stared at the fat uncle angrily. Had it not been for the chain with handcuffs, he would have cut it with a knife. A place that even the uncles dared to go, you dare not go, what are you not rubbish? Lucas laughed. I can, but I want to be the sea. The pirate couldn't speak half of his words. What? One Piece. He didn't even dare to provoke a giant bird, so he was embarrassed to say something like One Piece. But even so, this guy still doesn't want to take risks. Until Lucas mentioned giving him freedom and gold. I go. The pirate looked at Lucas excitedly and shouted excitedly. At Lucas's motion, a Marine unfastened the pirate's handcuffs and watched him go to the towering tree. Soon after, the Marine who was watching the pirate ran back early. That guy fled here, with 4 giant birds behind him. Very good. Lucas nodded in satisfaction and looked away. In the darkness, a cry for help came. The pirate was covered in torn clothes, and the weapon that was temporarily given to him had long been lost. This guy ran hurriedly, followed by 4 giant birds in the air behind him. A giant bird swooped in, and one wing turned over the pirate, and then the giant bird coming from behind slammed the pirate's body severely. Hiss. Not far away, Marine and the locals couldn't help taking a breath. This claw is not cold and difficult. The giant birds looked at the disgusting human being not far away, screaming and rushing. Stop, please. Chopper plucked up the courage to stand in front of the giant birds and shouted. Chapter 249,247. The female emperor certifies a straight steel man. Advertisement. The giant birds landed on the ground one after another, folded their wings, and walked forward, looking at this little thing curiously. Not humans, they lowered their heads and instinctively wanted to poke the little guy with their beaks, but their feelings told them that it would be miserable to do so. The giant birds looked around vigilantly, not knowing where the strange sense of danger came from. That. Chopper raised his head, looked at these guys strenuously, and continued to cheer himself up. There is no danger. Behind him are 2 powerhouses, Big Brother Lucas and Mr. Yishao, and now there is nothing that can threaten him. I know why you hate them, but please listen to me. This is actually just a misunderstanding. Chopper pointed at the people behind him and looked at the giant bird. When the giant birds heard that it was something related to human beings, their mood suddenly became unstable, but they listened to it. The giant birds called to Chopper several times, and their emotions were a bit intense. Chopper, what are they talking about? You have to translate it to them regularly, and the 2 sides can talk thoroughly to solve the trouble. Lucas said. Chopper understood, and quickly turned to look at the fat uncles. They want me to say what the misunderstanding is, and it's better to have evidence. We just need the medicinal materials from that tree. Is this difficult? Said an old man, who saw hope of reconciliation in Chopper. Hasn't their war with those guys been because they couldn't communicate? Stew these birds to make soup. Don't be kidding, they have sacrificed quite a few people over the years, but they have never defeated the giant bird. As for the guy who was really drooling when he saw everything, their clansmen had already locked up that idiot long before this reconciliation. What is bad to eat? You have to eat such a dangerous guy, don't you stick your mouth. Chopper continued to talk to the giant birds. The giant birds, emotions eased a lot, but they still didn't plan to end like this. They said that you collected medicinal materials might be a lie to them, so in the future, if one of you takes action against their children or them, the war will be ignited and there will be no reconciliation. Chopper recalled how these people looked at him at the time, and then looked at these people with a serious expression. Can you guarantee that you won't shoot them? Of course. The fat uncles nodded seriously. They said they wouldn't take action against you and your children. Chopper turned his head and said to the giant birds. The giant birds raised up to the sky and screamed happily, and yelled to Chopper a few times, and they flapped their wings cheerfully to celebrate. Quote. Too naive. This is promised. Advertisement. The pirates in custody on the side were a little surprised. These birds and these people, is it so simple to reconcile? The giant birds rubbed Chopper's head lightly with their heads, then flew into the night sky one by one, and finally yelled at Chopper twice. They say they welcome me to be a guest at any time, he. Chopper rubbed his head and smiled happily. Just help people talk to the birds and make friends. When the fat uncles were happy, they thought of hot pot, and they quickly invited Lucas to eat hot pot. The second day, Lucas sat with Chopper on his shoulders, and the two followed an elder of the local people to the place where they kept their books. Lucas raised his head and glanced at the bookshelf higher than him. Chopper glanced at the many medical books in front of him, and was speechless. These people of ours will copy as soon as possible, and we will give you a part of the copied and checked books every month. The elder took a book from the shelf and put it in Chopper's hand and smiled. This kid, Tenton, is studying medicine with a book in his arms, so he can be expected to be a junior. Chopper, these books will be yours in the future. Lucas pointed to the massive books in front of him. Look, these are all gifts I prepared for you. Chopper looked at so many books in front of him excitedly, and he couldn't close his mouth in excitement. He jumped off Lucas, and Kaizen ran in the ocean of books. Ha ha ha, the elder couldn't help laughing out loud. This little guy is so cute. Chopper has been able to learn medical skills for so long in the 3D2Y plot, and the amount of books here is really huge. Lucas only stayed in the kingdom of Torino for 2 weeks, took part of the manuscripts, and left the kingdom of Torino with his men. The giant birds reluctantly returned until the warship was far away. Chopper stood at the stern and waved his short hand to bid farewell to those friends. Smile stood not far from Chopper and Lucas, smiling. Sometimes the way to solve the problem, another way other than violence, can indeed achieve better results. Yes, Lucas nodded. The warship left South Blue all the way and entered the calm belt. At the same time, coincidentally, Lucas and the others happened to meet the Hydra pirates who went to sea to replenish supplies. Advertisement. This B***************** D. Boa Hancock looked at the man on the warship opposite. Oh, go out to robbery. Lucas's voice was a little stretched, and Boa Hancock wanted to beat him even more. Although the female emperor is very beautiful, her daughter has a kind of disease, and it would be a big trouble if she caused them. So he never thought about hooking up with the women there. But my daughter's country went to sea to replenish supplies, really thinking they would trade. Think too much. It's also because of this kind of thing that men are very welcome, but these guys' supplies, maybe where they grab them. Lucas doesn't catch a cold to these guys. Boa Hancock couldn't hold back the first one, jumped over and kicked Lucas in the air. Lucas directly blocked the blow with the back of the knife, and then kicked it out. Boa Hancock pushed hard on his feet, turning his body in the air and landing smoothly. Just about to use their abilities on Lucas's subordinates. All those people closed their eyes honestly. A strong desire to survive. Boa Hancock snorted coldly. As for using that trick against Lucas. Forget it, the steel straight man certified by the Empress is immune to her tricks. Bang bang bang. Throughout the whole process, the Empress kept raising her legs and kicking her legs, and her dazzling white legs kept dangling. If Sanji was here, she would have to spurt blood into the ICU. Soon after, Boa Hancock really couldn't beat Lucas, no matter how hard it was, or how to shake his white legs, how to toss it with winks, he just couldn't beat him. Under the dissuasion of the sisters, Boa Hancock finally returned to her boat in resentment, and the crew sisters turned the bow. The enemy is too fierce, retreat. The damn it guy. Boa Hancock stared at Lucas viciously. How could anyone in the world be able to resist her charm? There would really be people who are not interested in her beautiful daughter, the #1 beauty in the country. The most important thing is, Tenton lives in the praise of her sisters, and she is so spoiled by everyone, how can she stand the rubbish of Lucas? You are so angry. Chapter 250,248. Twice a brace. Advertisement. Leaving the calm belt, the warship all the way back to Marine Headquarters Marineford. Chopper ran back happily holding a few medical books. Lucas led a smile to Sea Marshal Sengoku. The ability to smile is the fruitful ability of Paramesha. Although the 3 Admiral quotas are full at this time, it is impossible to get him the position of Admiral. But his ability is really strong, enough to win enough attention for him. Lucas came to Marshal Sengoku's office with a smile. Not surprisingly, Garp Vice Admiral was still eating and drinking. Oh, Sengoku listened to Lucas's introduction and looked at the people in front of him with satisfaction. Although this person can't see it, he has a strong sense of knowledge to make up for this shortcoming. The opponent is still capable of manipulating gravity, which makes Sengoku very excited. Sengoku thought for a while and laughed. He glanced at Lucas. The rumors in Marine were really true. When Lucas goes to sea, he is either abducting talents or talented children. 2 days later, in Lucas's office, he smiled and sat across from his seat, holding a bowl of warm soba noodles in his hand, blowing the soup, and eating a bite of noodles. The breeze from outside the window came in, blowing the marine cloak hanging on his chair. Lucas stood up, smiled, and went out to sea. Yi Xiao was directly promoted to Vice Admiral because of his excellent strength. Don't think that Lucas was promoted very quickly. Smile that the green bulls are the real cowhide. In the original book, Yi Liao is a brilliant show of world conscription and was directly promoted to Admiral by an exception. The same is true for Green Bull. This time going to sea, it was purely that he went to Sky Island to get gold again, and by the way, smile Kabuto wind. Lucas walked halfway with a smile, and saw Sanji wearing a chef's clothes, standing on the warship, smiling and beckoning him. Quote. Lucas came directly to the warship and grabbed Sanji's ears. Who asked you to come up? Huh. Sanji looked at Lucas with an aggrieved expression, then glanced at Chopper on one side. If Chopper can get on, I can't get on. I'm 16. Quote. Lucas glanced at Chopper, walked over, grabbed him, and kicked him down. Hey, I was caught by the handle. Advertisement. Sanji hugged Chopper quickly, sighed, and motioned for us to go down here. The cruel Lucas brother, no matter what he takes care of, he will ruthlessly kick these poor children away when he raises his leg. Forget it, let you follow me just once. Lucas waved his hand, leaving 2 guys behind. This is to make dessert for you. Sanji quickly rubbed Chopper's face happily, and ran into the kitchen. Lucas Admiral wants to eat Sanji's food, a colonel and a lieutenant colonel whispered. Juan, is that so? Chopper looked at them in shock, he didn't expect it. The warship left the port and quickly sailed towards Gaia Island. New World, Whitebeard Pirates. Whitebeard was sitting on the deck, with wine in his hand, not interested. It's been a long time. When will the little Ace he wants to challenge him? At this time, Ace still continued his voyage, sailing all the way, making himself stronger all the way. Wano-kuni is further ahead, Duo said, looking at the bad weather ahead. Then go see Wano-kuni. Ace looked ahead and exclaimed excitedly. Their boat went all the way towards Wano-kuni. The climate in the sea near Wano-kuni was extremely bad, with thunder and wind roaring. All the way to Wano-kuni waterfall, they also chose to tie a large carp with a rope, dragged by the large carp, to Wano-kuni. Ace and their pirate ship, not surprisingly, had a little problem. The entire pirate ship ran aground on the beach, and its hull was damaged in many places. It will take some time to repair the ship. Hid the ship to a place, a small number of people stayed to repair the ship, and Ace took most of them to Wano-kuni. Sue. In the grass not far away, a little girl with purple hair showed her head and looked at Ace and others curiously. A few days later, Lucas's warship came to Sky Island. Under the leadership of an express shrimp, the warship quickly rushed into the White Sea. On the Yun Island not far away, a large number of Sky Island people and Shandia people waved to them. Welcome, you're coming again, let's have a banquet again. Ganfer and the Shandia leader came and said enthusiastically. Lucas walked with them with a smile, feeling the surrounding situation with a smile. It's really amazing. If Lucas hadn't brought him here, he wouldn't know that there would really be such a magical island. There is human life in a place at an altitude of 1W meters. The soft clouds can even carry buildings and become an island like a miracle in the sky. Advertisement. A smile followed, listening to the laughter of the surrounding laughter, slowly showing a smile. At the time of the dinner, Lucas sat with Ganfer and the leader of the Sandia, smiling beside him. I came here this time to fetch some gold again. Lucas said, it's okay. The Sandia leader waved his hand and agreed boldly, leaving the rest of the gold for him. Ganfer took a sip of wine and choked. One bluntly asks for money, and one is outrageous. This night was a special night for Sanji and Chopper. They even attended a banquet between Sky Islanders and Shandia people at an altitude of 1W meters. It's unforgettable. On the second day, they knew what was truly unforgettable. Lucas took 2 warships to sea this time, and both warships were full of gold. Sanji and Chopper looked at the blinding Jinshan in surprise, and looked at each other dully. Brother Lucas is so rich. Lucas glanced at the 2 of them and couldn't help but laugh. What's the matter? After waiting, he wants to let them know what TMD is called jewel gold everywhere. One Piece world, it's not easy to get money, don't talk about ONEPIECE's IOU. There are several vaults he knows. The warship left Sky Island, and it fell down with a whistling sound from the people of Sky Island. Chopper hugged Sanji's neck hard and screamed. Sanji hugged the railing vigorously and looked at the scene below. It was okay. No, don't panic. Just as I smiled and couldn't stand to use the power, 2 huge octopuses rushed out of the sea of clouds, directly grabbed the 2 warships, and slowly fell. Okay, it's amazing. Chopper jumped off Sanji, looked at the octopus on it, and chatted with the octopus. After a while, Chopper sat on the railing, next to Lucas on the left, holding a bowl of soba noodles in his hand, sucking with his calf. Sanji walked out of the kitchen, holding a bowl of soba noodles in one hand, and handing them to Chopper's left and right sides, Lucas sitting on the railing and smiled. Chapter 251,249. Frankie's Distress. Advertisement. The 3 of them sat on the railings, sucking down the strips together, drinking a sip of warm soup, looking at the white clouds not far in front, and taking a breath. It's so pleasant to eat here and enjoy the beautiful scenery. Lucas sighed after looking under his eyes. At this moment, Chopper heard his words and accidentally glanced down, hurriedly rubbing against Lucas in fright. Quote. He smiled and said nothing. 10,000 meters high in the sky, he perceives the breath of a ghost. The eyes are gone, so I can't appreciate it even more. Fear and appreciation are impossible emotions. In this regard, he can only sigh that today's soba noodles are so delicious. Sanji was about to turn around to make himself a bowl, and by the way, he sat outside and sighed. As a result, 3 hands of different lengths stretched out, holding 3 empty bowls. Please have another bowl, X3. Holding an empty bowl in his hand, Sanji walked back to the kitchen to cook. Please have another bowl, X3. Sanji looked at the empty bowl again, U3. On the second day, they finally landed on the sea smoothly, although the octopus still did not hold up the shrinkage at the last height. But with the ability to smile, they returned to the sea safe and sound, even the ship did not break. The warship returned to Marineford, Lucas sat on the railing just eating, and smiled as he watched the noodles. Hiss. He suddenly discovered that a smile seems to be able to achieve similar capabilities to Golden Lion. A smile can control rocks and other objects to fly, and I stand on it. And he can also control a large number of objects to fly. Does that smile also control a large number of warships to play a marine version of the air fleet? There's something good, it's a big idea. Lucas became more excited as he thought about it, and looked at Lucas walking towards him with a puzzled smile. After a while, with a smile, he handed the empty bowl to Sanji and listened to Lucas's advice. The two smiled, but Lucas was just a suggestion. After all, for the strength of Yi Xiao, this suggestion is just icing on the cake. Under the control of Yi Lao's ability, the two warships separated from the sea, flew into the sky, and flew towards Marineford quickly. What is the real fruit of pervert? Lucas felt that his own was weak, and the real cowhide was the one who smiled. Advertisement. People don't bother with Logia's ability like natural disasters, it's gravity. It didn't take long for the warships to fly their long voyage. Before long, a beautiful underwater city appeared under them. Let's take a break first, Lucas said, nodded with a smile, and parked the two warships to the city of Seven Waters. In fact, he is not tired, mainly because Sanji made another soba noodles, and he still has to eat the noodles. Lucas put Chopper on his shoulder, then called Sanji to get off the boat. It didn't take long for Smile to get the warm soba noodles in his hand, and they sensed Lucas and they looked at them. Although he couldn't see it with a smile, he lowered his head subconsciously, holding the soba noodles in his hand, and perceiving Lucas and the others who called him with him in the distance. With a smile, I couldn't bear the soba noodles, so I held the noodles and slowly followed a few people behind. Quote. Lucas held back a smile, and smiled that Soba really loved didn't run away. Lucas rented 3 blues at the blue rental shop not far away. Bulu is an animal specially used to carry people out in the city of Seven Waters. The 3 of them sailed on the waterways of the city of Seven Waters in a small boat on Bulu's back. The prototype of the city of Seven Waters is Venice in reality. The buildings here are all built on the sea. If you dive down, you will find that there are many submerged buildings in the deep water. Lucas held Chopper and listened to Chopper. I seem to have seen a frog who can freestyle just now. Chopper took Lucas's hand and said that you have to believe me. Freestyle frog, ha ha ha, Sanji couldn't help laughing. He was busy in the kitchen at the time, Lucas and Smiled talking about things, and the Marines were busy. Chopper also saw the freestyle frog, so until now, no one believed him. I believe it, Lucas smiled, then touched Chopper's head. Frankie's pet, no matter how strange it is, he believes it. At the back, Bruce, who was carrying a smile, smelled the scent, turned his head and smiled at him. Although I can't see the smile, I can feel it. He smiled at Brew and continued to suck his soba noodles. On the way, Sanji bought some water and meat, a specialty of the city of Seven Waters, as well as some other specialty ingredients. On the way back, they came across a funny scene. This. Chopper couldn't help laughing. I saw a strangely dressed guy on the bridge in the distance, followed by 2 pretty girls, dancing, and chanting, dance. Advertisement. Lucas watched Frankie dancing in panties, couldn't help laughing, and whistling at Frankie. Dude, good dancing. Yo, thank you for the compliment. Frankie smiled confidently at Lucas, and continued to jump with 2 followers. This. Sanji didn't say the next 2 words. After all, Big Brother Lucas thought it was pretty good. The word, idiot, felt like being beaten 80% of the time. The group left here and returned to the warship. Frankie took his followers back to their home. Sitting in the seat, eating food, Frankie listened to the reports of the boys today. I heard 2 Marines passing by say that their boats are full of gold and they are packed. A younger brother reported. Frankie's eyes flashed green, and his spirits flashed in an instant, and he slapped the table. 2 whole boats of gold, that definitely exceeded the money he needed. As long as he can get a small amount of gold, the 200 million Baileys he wants is definitely enough. Frankie looked at the people of the Frankie family excitedly. When are they leaving? I don't know. The family shook their heads. Who is their chief and how strong is it? Do not know. After asking for a long time, the result was 1 question and 3 questions. This. When Frankie was upset, he suddenly felt that he seemed to have seen a familiar face today. Who is it? Frankie racked his brains and began to think, suddenly grabbing a newspaper from a family member on the side and looking at the guy on the front. Quote exclamation mark quote. Marine Admiral. Frankie froze in an instant. Marine Admiral is so strong, how can he get that gold? Such a strong guy, they have no chance to start. Frankie sat in distress all night. How uncomfortable it is that gold is unavailable in sight. But if he really put himself in for the money, Frankie would be a little scared when he thought of the guy's request. It's not worth it. Worried all night, constantly hesitating between gold and reason. This night, a big man thought about Lucas's gold. Chapter 250 2250. Whitebeard. Capture a cute ace, subscription. Monthly ticket, reward. Advertisement. On the second day, Lucas's warship left the city of Seven Waters. Frankie sat on the roof of the city of Seven Waters, looking sad at the warships going away on the sea. The gold is in front of me and is not available. It is too painful to watch them go away from me. Frankie heartache. As the warship leaves the Seven Waters city, Lucas is sitting on the bow with Chopper on his shoulders. Chopper points to the freestyle frog on the sea not far away. Look, I didn't lie. It's amazing. Sanji looked at the frog in awe, startled. A few days later, Lucas learned through his 2 undercover agents under Kaido that Ace had come to Wano Kuni and had a fight with them. Now Ace has left Wano Kuni. But one thing that surprised him is that Ace has not joined the Whitebeard pirates. Something is wrong. A few months later, at the end of this year, Lucas still has not heard of Ace joining the Whitebeard pirates. Didn't he just mouse Ace? How could he accidentally destroy history again? This is not okay. People like Ace, Blackbeard, and Whitebeard are related to the Top War, and the only benefit of Top War is that it breaks the balance that five elders love most. Besides, how can I miss such a good opportunity to pretend to be B? Cough cough cough. Lucas led his men to New World, and the warship sailed on the sea. Somewhere on the island, a pirate ship docked on the shore. Ace and his companions sat under the tree, eating meat and drinking wine, listening to the sound of the waves. Life was so pleasant. Ace glanced at the wine in front of him, and after drinking these for a short break, he continued to exercise. Marine is here. A companion hurriedly got up when seeing the warship coming from the sea. Trouble. Ace drank the wine in his hand in one sip, and met a lot of Marines these days. Generally they choose to go around. Of course they can beat them to play Ace, but those people are too troublesome. It's like a fly following behind, buzzing. Everyone put away their things and quickly returned to the boat, preparing to escape. Someone rushed. Deus said, pointing to the air. Trouble. Ace squeezed his fist helplessly, and could only fight. Lucas. Advertisement. Withdraw. Without saying a word, playing without a fight, just ran away. This is. I can't beat it. As a man, he could be so fast, even as a man, they couldn't stand the speed of each other. Ace's pirate ship turned around and ran away, not giving Lucas a chance to hang him again. Lucas's warship chased all the way behind, and Ace's pirate ship ran away all the way in front. Damn it, how come I will run into him when I come to New World? Ace looked at Lucas, who had returned to rest on the warship at the rear. The opponent was obviously not too old, so strong, so outrageous. Strange. After a while, Deus stood beside Ace, looking at the warship behind him puzzledly. Is there something wrong? Ace asked. When we run fast, they speed up. When we run slow, they slow down. Isn't it weird? Deus pointed to Lucas's outer ship. Quote. A day later, Ace and others sat on the deck and breathed a sigh of relief, and finally couldn't see Lucas's warship. Huh, I'll just say it's okay. Ace took Deus's shoulder and smiled. That's it. Deus pointed to a pirate ship that appeared not far away. A pirate boat docked on the shore of the island where they fled, and a man with a spear in his left hand and a shield in his right came over. He has a piece of clothing with the Whitebeard Pirates logo on his body. This is Speedo gear. Your kid is Ace, right? I want to challenge you. Quote. Ace hadn't slowed down yet, and didn't want to understand why this strange guy wanted to challenge him, so the opponent swung his spear and stabbed him. Ace retreated quickly, and compared with Lucas's speed, the guy in front of him was weak. He dodges, swings the spear in front of him, and Ace quickly kicks the guy away. What's up, you? Spador Kills didn't say much, and didn't reply at all. He rushed up again and directly hit Ace with the shield of his right hand. As a passerby who rarely plays, how can he not play more? After a long time, Ace finally sat down in front of him with his bruised nose and swollen face. So, why are you challenging me? Ace couldn't laugh or cry. Advertisement. I am the captain of the 14th team of the Whitebeard Pirates. Speedo Gear looked at Ace and continued. Father Tenton said that a kid named Ace is very good, so I would like to see, what's his favor for the kid who was favored by his father. That's it. That's it. Quote. Ace sighed as he looked at Whitebeard's boat blocking the road not far away. Standing up, he rushed directly. There is no way, he can only rush up to the cushion first, and let his companions go. In the next few days, Ace was successfully taken away by Whitebeard. He had a torment every day and tried to assassinate Whitebeard every day. All kinds of weapons, whatever he could find, were used. However, the huge gap, no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't get rid of Whitebeard. The happy time of Whitebeard's education godson has finally begun. Puff ha ha ha. Lucas had already returned to Marineford at this time, watching the news in the newspaper, laughing wildly while constantly patting the table. Taking bamboo shoots. Monet couldn't help laughing. She also heard about what Lucas did that day. Although she didn't make any shots, she always drove Ace to Whitebeard. Meanwhile, Marineford and Garp walked on the edge of the training ground, watching Sanji and their training, chatting with Zephyr. Zephyr told the news he saw in the newspaper, and coincidentally, the news that Ace was taken away by Whitebeard also said. He does not mean that. Garp's face turned dark. Even if the boy Ace became a pirate, he was actually received by the Whitebeard pirate group. Garp was heartbroken and promised to help Roger take care of his son, but the more he took care of Ace, the more he developed in the direction of the pirate. Sure enough, he is really not suitable for taking care of children. In 1520, not long after that, a message came from Punk Hazard. Lucas of Marineford hurried to Punk Hazard. One thing is gradually out of their control, and if left unchecked, it will develop out of control. The warship left Marineford. Lucas stood at the bow, followed by Sanji. Sanji finally went to sea this year, but Kid and Kira have already gone to sea.